Boom. What is going on? We are back after almost a 2-week hiatus. I have decided to come back. I wasn't technically ever actually gone, but, you know, been real busy. Mentally taxing. My kids are okay, by the way. They're okay. They just got colds. But I haven't been able to stream recently because I've gotten into this weird mental rut thing where I'll I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to stream today." And then I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, this is me kind of just admitting things to you guys humbly, 4 or 5 hours into it, my mind just goes, "But I don't think I should. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to mess up." Right? And then I just get stuck in that loop. And that continues. So, but hey, I got through it. It was a little bit of it was a rough 2 weeks, but now we're good. So, you know. How you doing, Bruce? I'm doing good. Brandon, how are you doing, man? Don't listen to the demons. I know, bro. Trust me. I know. It's a rough time out there. You know, when your entire job is to, or not job, but it's kind of more of a hobby or a calling or however you want to call it. It's part of the job of doing apologetics is the mental taxation of having to talk to heretics, blasphemers, just all the time. And it weighs on you over time to the point where I have to sit there and be like, ugh. No, I did not cancel the debate with Umar. I did not cancel that. That was canceled by Umar himself. He had something that he had to go to. So apparently he had a personal deal. Yeah, what's up, bro?
What's up? Do you believe ED is logically consistent?
Yeah.
Okay. Under what formal system would you be able to express the commitments that ED makes?
What?
Yeah. What formal system would we be able to use to express the commitments that ED makes? I can give you an example where
Sure, go ahead.
You want to say, huh?
I said sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. You can have some natural language statements what's it called? The essence is really distinct from exists, or the essence is really distinct from the energies, or you can take a formal actual distinction. That's gonna be one statement. How would you express that in a formal system?
Are you asking me if I just hold to a formal distinction? I'm confused.
No.
You're saying a formal system, right? But
I can tell you what a formal system is.
Well, that's the thing that I was hoping that you would tell me to try to describe.
Cool. Oh, that's fine. A formal system is it consists of a language over some alphabet of symbols, together with axioms and inference rules.
Say that one more time.
Okay.
Let me make sure I heard that.
Yeah. A formal system just consists of a language over some alphabet of symbols, together with axioms and inference rules.
Okay. And so what are the different ones that exist? Please, be my teacher.
Propositional logic, you have FOL, SOL, modal, doxastic, TFL. These are some systems.
Are they all something that's capable of just being correct when it comes to making arguments within them?
Yeah. I will believe that.
Okay. So none of them contradict each other, right? In terms of whether truth or falsity or anything like that?
No, we don't derive. We can't derive contradiction with these systems. No.
What about
Mhm.
the truth value of something within the system compared to another system?
The truth value that's determined, it's going to be either true or false. It doesn't vary by the system.
Really? So
Yeah.
I mean that's not exactly true, because if you use
Wait, that
something
would
like
be.
no, because if you use something like at like for example, if we use identity as an example, right? The way that you apply something like absolute identity to something, and the way that you come to something being true or false or X or Y, any of that, right? The
Mhm.
way that you come to that truth by using something like relative identity would be entirely different, and at first glance would seem contradictory, unless you obviously, you know, describe what's actually happening or
Those
describe
are not
the
going
inner
to
workings
be
of it.
Wait, those are not going to be different or many valued system. You know that, right? You're going to have only two operators, which is true or false. So if we have a system where you have a set of sentences, right? And then you can derive delta or phi, this can be true under a model or an interpretation. This is
Mm-hmm.
trivial. Okay, so if this is trivial and we agree, then how would you be able to express these commitments that EED makes in a formal system?
I don't use formal logic in the way that you do. So I mean, I don't really
So
think
you
it's
believe,
necessary. Are you is this moral?
yeah,
Okay. Are you still Catholic?
yeah.
Do you think that you think that the fathers had to use formal logic in order to come to the truth of their system?
What are you asking me there?
How did you not understand what I just asked you?
Because
You
when
said
you
all this
use,
stuff the past 10 minutes, but that didn't resonate with you.
because you used system in a way that I don't understand.
Yeah, so I just said, right, that in Roman Catholic epistemology, did they have to use the systems that you're requiring me to utilize, right, in order to come
No,
to the
they
truth
didn't
of it?
exist.
So then why are you asking me to justify it using that?
I'm not asking you to justify anything. I'm asking you
So
if they're
so if I
expressible. Because
say
you
that I don't
wait,
have one,
just okay. Then how are you gonna be able to say that EED is logically consistent if you can't express in a formal system?
you just did it. You just did the exact thing that I just
Did
asked you.
what? I did what?
Yeah. So again, let me put it like this: prior to like the analytical philosophy existing, right? Prior
Yeah.
to back in like the medieval scholasticism, right? Did they have the ability to demonstrate that it was logically consistent?
They had formal systems, yes. Like
Okay.
you had John of St. Thomas's system. That's gonna be like one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about how about pre-schism? What was the one that was used?
Pre-schism,
Yeah.
yeah, they would still use the Aristotelian formal system.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
so that's a system that you count as a formal system for
It
logically
has it
consistent.
has formation rules, it has inference rules, it has an alphabet, yeah.
I'm just making sure that that's
Yeah.
something that's actually part of the category.
Yeah, it would
So
fall under the definition of a formal system, yes.
yeah, I mean, like I would say that like orthodoxy, in a sense, like holds to some things in like Aristotelianism, some things in Platonism, because not everything is held in a hard sense, because our theology baptizes different philosophical concepts. So
Um, okay. How does this answer my question though? I don't understand.
because you're asking me how to justify it within a very
No, I'm not. No,
specific
no, no,
system.
no, no, no. No, I'm not asking you for any epistemic justification or justification for that matter. All I'm asking is if we can express it, if it's like possible to express it in a formal system, because
Okay,
you're saying it's consistent
let me put it like this:
logically.
if I say, because I'm going to show this, if I say that I can express it in an Aristotelian format, then what?
I'm just gonna ask you.
To
Um,
justify that?
no, I'm just gonna ask you. Um, like what? How would you be able to do that by the formation rules, the alphabets, and all that?
That is literally what I just said, but slightly tweaked to make it not seem like I'm steel manning you.
Yeah, it's a
Are we
bundle.
dead ass?
Wait, do you think
Oh my
justif-
gosh, here we go. Wait. So you think? Wait. Go ahead. Yeah, don't start, bro. Like just freaking. That's exactly what you just did. I'm sorry. I just started the stream, bro. Like, are we dead ass?
I don't know why you're triggered, but obviously when I
Because
say
that was
have,
the worst rhetoric ever. I just said something. I said you're gonna ask me to justify it, and then you said no. I'm just gonna ask how you can apply it with the formal with the
obviously that's
formal
not
logic. That's
justification
the
then.
If I can, what if I say I can't do that? Does that mean I'm not justified now?
I'm not asking any about your justification there. You don't understand this.
There's no way.
What?
Holy moly!
Wait, by the way, what's the argument?
I'm not.
He's not
giving
making
any
an argument.
argument.
He's just asking me to
I'm having an
basically
inquiry.
an inquiry.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just saying like can you utilize or explain, right? Like the essence energy distinction in a formal system.
Can you express it to be specific?
Okay. Define the difference between explain and express, please.
Explain is going to be more in an epistemological domain. Rather, expressibility is going to be a property of a formal system.
That's a blunder.
Wait, how's that a blunder?
Holy shit, bro.
Wait, how's that
Yeah.
a blunder?
Explanations aren't necessarily epistemic, you know this, right?
When did I use a modal auxiliary? Just to be clear.
Did you say that
Mono
explanations are
auxiliary.
epistemic?
Modal.
Did you say that explanations are epistemic?
They're gonna be a part of the epistemic domain. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say they're epistemic? Yes or no?
I answered this. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a blunder. Just to be clear. Thanks.
How is that a blunder? You're not demonstrating how.
Thank goodness that we have an
Because-
orthodox version of Moro. Oh my gosh.
Because they're not epistemic. Wait, does an explanation necessarily have to be epistemic?
Who's using these modal auxiliaries? But like,
Wait,
this
you
is just a
said-
blunder
you
on your part.
You said explanations are epistemic, yet they don't.
That
have
doesn't
to
mean
necessarily
it's
be epistemic.
necessarily true. You know that, right?
Okay, so wait, why did you specify?
That's a blunder.
Why did you specify epistemic?
Everything's always a blunder. I don't.
Wait, why did you specify epistemic?
What? Can you
Why
repeat
did
that?
say- why did you say explanations are epistemic? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, that you can have an explanation that is going to be a part of the
Yeah, to say
epistemic
that
domain.
something, to say explanations are epistemic, that's saying that this object or the thing in question is what satisfies the function of what is.
Do you think this is going to be necessarily true?
What is that question even asking?
Yeah, that the object there necessarily satisfies the propositional function, the given propositional function.
Well, yeah, if you're saying that
Is that a yes or is that a no?
if you're saying explanations are X, that's just to say that this
That
object
doesn't answer the
satisfies it.
question. That's dodge.
Okay, that's a dodge, right?
Was that also a blunder? Wait, because he dodged. Is that also a blunder because he dodged?
Yes, yes.
Okay, just making sure. I'm just making sure I'm tracking the way that the speaking happens here.
Yeah. Of course, it's a blunder. Of course. So, Sonny, go ahead.
Yeah, you blundered. You said
I can't fucking do this, bro. You guys are miserable. I love you guys so much, Moro. You're always funny, and Sani, love you, my brother in Christ. But holy shit, I'm not gonna sit there and listen to that all night. I can't do this, bro. Like, there's no way. Holy moly, I can't do this shit. The analytical shit just. Oh my gosh, I swear I can't prove it. All right, I'm dokes right now. I'm the Bay Harbor Butcher. I'm dokes right now. That 99% of analytical philosophy is rhetoric. I can't prove it though. I cannot prove it. But I swear, bro. Why did you take my name? You LARP? Oh, never mind. I thought you were talking to me. I was just like, wait, what? But bro, I'm like dead ass. Like most of the people that I talk to that are like super hardcore into the analytical shit, 99% of the stuff that comes out of their mouth is rhetoric. It blows my mind. Like why? Like Moro, dude, here I'm gonna rant because I'm just pissed off right now because I just started the stream and I already got freaking rage baited. Why is it that when I said, so you're asking me to explain it, you said more like, what was it? Freaking expand on it or elaborate on it? Like, why would you correct me there? What's the point of correcting that, bro? Like, what's the point, bro? Moro and Sani cooked, bro. I don't know why this dude keeps saying it. Sani's on my side, bro. Express. Sorry. Expressing.
Yo. Sorry, I gotta deal with that garbage first stream back, bro. You feeling better?
Bro, yeah, everything's all good now. It's
That's
funny
good,
too
man.
because like that's what I get as soon as I come back. is
Yeah.
freaking somebody coming up here and just freaking analytically belt to assing me for no reason. I'm like, I don't do any of that shit, bro. Like, I don't care about none of that. And freaking, they always come in here and they're like, yeah, so under your formal system, can you actually apply using freaking Gödel's like theorem and like all this shit? And I'm sitting over here and I'm like, no, I can't. Like you're, what do I do here?
Bryce, before wait,
I don't
before
study
everyone
that
else
shit. I
starts
study
talking,
scholastics, bro. That's what I do. Nothing else. Sorry.
before we start, well, before everyone else starts a longer conversation, can I get like a 30-second crash course on EED?
I mean, like, what do you currently know about it though? Because like, I don't want to like include that 30 seconds as saying it's his essence and his operations, and they are distinct. You know what I mean? Like what do you know?
I understand like the absolute bare bones basics.
Okay. I mean, like in our view, right, there has to be a distinction between God's essence or what he is versus his energies versus what he does, which is what he does, and his acts and his attributes, things like that. And this distinction is called a formal actual distinction, which means that it's something that's truly in God prior to the intellect, but it's not another thing, as in like another being, as in like a god or something like that. So they're indivisible, or inseparable, of course. They're also all denoted as one materially, so they're materially identical to the essence. So they're all one one being or one thing.
Okay, tell me if this is a really bad, like really crude summarization, but is it just essentially how we understand God or how we experience God? Because obviously we can't experience the essence because it's infinite.
I mean, yeah, the energies are the way in which we participate in God. Yeah,
Okay.
that is, the energies are the way that we do that.
Okay.
Mr. Fist 07, thank you for upping your membership for 4 months, brother. He says Bryce draws all the best spurgs. Yeah, I know. Happens every
All
time.
right. Any fathers specifically that teach on it that are worth reading?
St.
For
Gregory
starters?
Palamas. St. Gregory Palamas, the Triads is what it's called.
Triads.
Yep.
Gregory Palamas, Triads. Amazon. 159 pages. Oh man, I gotta get to work. All right, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Big doctrine, bro.
Yeah.
I ain't
God
even
bless.
saying, I ain't even got you on to Scholarius yet. You just go read that first. You'll be all right.
I'll get there. But I'm like, dude, I get baptized on Thursday. I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
Yeah. God bless.
God bless. What's up, everybody else?
What's up, Bryce? What's your epistemic?
What's your epistemic justification?
Yeah, Bryce, what's your response to the foundationalism? Go ahead. Just kidding.
To the what?
To foundationalism? Go ahead.
I thought you said to Finagle's theorem. I was about to be like, what's your response to the criterion problem of Finagle's?
Yeah. How do you respond to the problem that you already did? But oh yeah, I meant to ask you. So because I hear some people, some atheists. I hear some atheists say like there isn't like I guess what you would call a chain of custody between like the apostolic fathers in terms of succession. Is there any like I guess historical verification in terms of that, like that we can actually trace this lineage, or is it only the fathers that are giving this like verification or saying like this is what happened? Do we have any outside sources to appeal to?
There's a really good, well, I mean, outside sources, technically speaking, are like, when you think about it, outside sources are never going to be considered properly outside because one of the core tenets of like especially orthodoxy is that they didn't reveal all of these types of things to the common man outside of Christianity, because these types of things were kept on the down low, especially in the early days. You can get it from inside the sources though. And there is a really good book by Father Stephen DeYoung called The Religion of the Apostles. It's Orthodox Christianity in the first century.
Okay. And
That's a
I
really
get,
good book.
yeah. And I get why they I get why they couldn't like just, they had to kind of keep it on the down lows because everybody was getting like schmurder. Like they were
Yeah,
like
the
not
the
laughing at it, but they
apostolic
were like, yeah.
the apostolic deposit wasn't really something that was like, so it is documented, right? It's just you have to use individual people's writings prior to 325 AD. So like because
Okay.
you have to remember that after Christianity was legalized by Constantine, by Saint Constantine, that after that, right, it became the primary religion that the majority of the people were holding to at that point. So they started
Mhm.
documenting things in big ass libraries and stuff like that, and started making it like really, because like one of the earliest attestations that we have to like the apostolic succession would be like, or at least a really really well kept one would be Eusebius, right? Because he has the whole thing. The documents that he was working with, we don't have the majority of those documents anymore, because a lot of those documents were little tiny church pamphlets that were written on parchment just for like the purpose of like documenting a specific church and like where they were coming from and stuff like that. And so like that kind of stuff wasn't preserved very well. We have the historians throughout time, like I think his name is Socrates Scholasticus as well. Like there's a lot of people throughout the Christian timeline from the first century on to like pre-schism that were denoted as historians or chroniclers and people like that, where their entire job was just to preserve the tradition and show how it's maintaining its continuity. I mean, atheists are obviously going to say that there's no apostolic deposit, but we can see very clearly that people like Saint Polycarp and Saint Ignatius of Antioch, like they were disciples of the disciple, or they were disciples of the Apostle John, and then Saint Irenaeus was a disciple of, I think it was Ignatius. Is it Ignatius? I can't remember specifically if he came after
Okay.
him. Right, so like you can
Yeah.
see these
Yeah.
things continue on, and then after you get to like Saint Irenaeus's time, you can see the people that were directly under Saint Irenaeus, and then you can read them. You can see that their stuff
Yeah.
continues, right? And then you can even see where there were some people that were disciples of these people that actually went off and became heretics as well, because some of the people that came
Okay.
from the later disciples ended up becoming heretics.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, because I feel like to deny that there is this like apostolic succession and being like, oh, like they're just saying this. It's like, well, like
How
we
did
have,
everybody just make it up magically and like everyone, all of Christendom agreed with it? Like that's ridiculous.
yeah,
Like
yeah, like
Christianity was in so many places by the second century that like there's no way that everyone would have just been like, oh, I came from Peter, and then someone was like, okay, all of the
yeah, like
dioceses all
yeah.
simultaneously said, okay, sure, I believe you.
Yeah, and to deny that there's these like teachers and then there's these students and then there's like the students of the people that were taught and all these other things would be to deny things like a Socrates, like Plato, and then like an Aristotle thing, right? Like
Yeah.
that type of thing. They would be denying that, but of course they wouldn't, right? They wouldn't hold that same standard. And I think that's kind of like unfair.
There's some people that are
Um,
there are some people that are hyper skeptics. Like there's even some people in academia, like in the atheist world, that believe that Socrates wasn't even a real person. You know, because of the fact that he didn't actually write anything. He got like everything we know about
mhm.
Socrates is from Plato. They actually would come to the conclusion that Socrates didn't even exist because of that. Which is because if they hold that standard, then they have the ability to point at something like Jesus and be like, well, how do we know Jesus existed? He didn't write anything down, right? Like it's like the same
Yeah.
same shit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that's all I came up to ask. Um,
But yeah, I mean, like that book though is really good. It kind of like outlines a lot of like first, second century worship and stuff like that, and how it was able to be preserved.
okay,
And
Religion of the
then
Apostles by Stephen D. Young, right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I wrote it down. Just wanted to make sure I was writing it down correctly.
Ugh. Yo, Basil, did you see that first interaction as soon as I started my stream up?
No.
It is miserable.
What happened?
Oh, freaking Moro came up here and just started rage baiting me with analytics shit, like immediately. And I'm just like, dude, I ain't got time for this shit, bro. Like, I don't. It was just freaking immediately, bro. I just started the stream, just booted up my note app that I always have up, and then just blah. And I'm like,
It's because he saw your Discord bio that said analytics put me to sleep. Back to scholastics.
Because it did.
Scholastamaxing. Let's go.
Nah, I think Bryce is just running for real.
I know.
He's running.
He's
He's
running.
he's, he's
He's
running like
running.
he's running from
How
who's
did
that guy
Bryce J just
ILARP or
join?
whatever.
I learned. Oh, cool. Bryce J's here. Hold on.
That's Chris. Block 50, that's Chris.
Yeah, honestly, that's got to be Chris.
Whole
Nobody
master of student of Solomon Kingdom. That's what his bio says.
If it's not Chris, then Zay likes boys.
Oh, he's another one of
Oh,
those guys.
so we just not talking.
Coda 3590 super chatted $5. Can you talk about the specifics of person/nature distinction? Is a subject like some distinct but not separate thing from the soul and body, or?
I'm not exactly sure, like, the whole, the body and soul analogy isn't something that would be applying to the person-nature distinction. I mean, the person-nature distinction would be showing the way in which a hypostasis is distinct from, like, an ousia, right? Which is, that wouldn't be the same thing as, like, a distinction between a soul and body. The distinction between nature and person, that would be formal actual. That's something that St. Gennadios says actually very explicitly. So it's the same as essence and energies. Because there would be technically formalities or names that would properly apply to the hypostasis that wouldn't directly apply to the essence, things like that.
Bryce, do not, and I quote, do not upworld.
Yeah, I know. World's a troll, bro.
Yeah. Hey, Bryce, could you like give me a quick rundown on like how being generated isn't being dependent?
Being generated isn't being dependent?
Like people like I forget who runs the argument. Like I think it's Libiana mostly who says that Jesus can't be God because God can't be dependent, but being generated is being dependent.
Yeah, there's a difference between a hypostatic dependency and a natural dependency. And so the Son wouldn't be naturally dependent on the Father due to the fact that well, first off, he shares in the same nature as the Father, and generation is an act of it's a hypostatic act. So it's not something that would denote any kind of like lessening of a nature or like a essential dependency or anything like that. Because they always sneak in the eunomian premise into stuff like that. That's what that is at the end of the day. It's collapsing person and nature into one thing. And then basically
didn't he debate Nick on this?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did, actually. Yeah. Oh, something that we're definitely going to watch here shortly, by the way, if we don't get any like direct opposition. Apostate Prophet. He debated Jake the Muslim Metaphysician at DebateCon 7. And I want to watch a specific section of it. It's not too long, where they actually argues about, they actually start arguing about the metaphysics of the Trinity. I want to see if Apostate Prophet has the ability to defend that, because I've never seen him ever talk about metaphysics.
Yeah, no. I just have one more question.
Go ahead. I was just saying something I was going to do later, but go ahead.
No, I want to watch it too. What's the difference between a real and a formal distinction?
If you're talking about real as in like real simpliciter, that would be like a distinction between two things or two beings, right? So like, for example, two human beings, right? Like there would be like a real distinction between us because of the fact that there's two reses denoted, as in like a thing in of itself, right? It's something that has its own existence, blah, blah, blah. As an overall ontology, not as like a hypostatic, not in like the hypostatic sense, but like as its overall ontology.
Okay, yeah. Because like when they try to say like, oh, three chickens, like that's a real distinction, but a formal distinction is it's a hypostatic distinction or a relational distinction.
No. So like when we talk about like EED and stuff like that, like we would say that there's a formal actual distinction, and then we would say that it's real in a sense, right? Or they also says like real secundum quid or something like that if you're a nerd. But basically that's just saying like, because it's not real simpliciter, right? Which is basically just saying like two things or reses or two beings, right, in its entirety. So a formal actual distinction is talking about one being, and it's talking about the things in that being, which is not the
Oh,
same.
okay, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So why not a minor real? Because a minor real distinction is about modality. So if I were to say that it was the essence energies distinction was like a minor real distinction, then you just say that it's like a modality of the essence, which is not true. That doesn't apply. It doesn't properly attribute to how you would describe it. So, little Caleb.
Hey, what's up, man? Got a few questions. I think a couple of them are pretty quick. When it comes to the will of God being one, am I correct in understanding that it's shared by the Trinity, but it originates from the Father?
I mean, yeah, like since the essence is provided to the Son and provided to the Spirit, and part of receiving the essence is also receiving the will of God, it would originate hypostatically from the Father, but the Son and the Spirit would still be utilizing that same identical will in that way.
Okay. Because I'm reading on the Orthodox faith right now. Is the natural will and like gnomic will that humans have, is it proper to say that like Christ, like the second person of the Godhead, has a natural will, or or is that distinct to humans and not to the Trinity?
I mean,
I don't know if I'm
saying that he has a natural will in his human sense, there's nothing wrong with that.
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, in his humanity, he does possess a natural will, but he does not possess a gnomic will.
Okay.
A gnomic
Okay,
will
cool.
is due to being fallen, right? Christ is not
Yeah.
fallen.
So did we have gnomic wills prior to the fall, or that was truly a result of the fall?
If I remember correctly, a gnomic will is something that is the result of the stain of Adam. So,
Okay.
like, now granted, that doesn't mean that our natural will didn't have the ability to still be corrupted, of course, even if we didn't possess it, right? The gnomic willing would be like an effect of the fall in of itself, but the natural will was obviously still can still be tempted, but obviously God cannot be internally tempted, but human beings could be internally tempted because they're imperfect. So then they can form the gnomic will based off of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's actually one of the
Yeah.
arguments that I use against Unitarians all the time, because like Unitarians would try to make the argument that Christ actually possesses concupiscence or something like that. And then like if you say like, okay, does God naturally create human beings with concupiscence, or is it something that's a result of the fall? If they say that he naturally creates it, that's just absurd, because then you basically have to say that Christ created us with the inclination to walk away from him. Or sorry, that God created us for the inclination to walk away from us or from him. And then if they accept that, that's just ridiculous. And then the other option that they would have to accept is that Christ possessed original sin, which is against the scriptures.
Okay. Okay. And that funny you actually brought up Unitarians. That my next question, like I'm pretty familiar with like the tag argument, and I would do okay, I guess, if I ran it against like an atheist or something. But I'm kind of curious how to go about running it against like a Unitarian, for instance, like because I know
I'm gonna be
there's
real with you, bro. Like it's not really worth it to run it against other theists. Like, and that's just my
oh, okay.
opinion. That's just my personal opinion. Like, and I think that it works for some atheists depending on the type of worldview that they hold to. Like, if they're like a hard materialist, I think that tag is pretty good. But like,
Yeah.
if they have like a really fleshed out philosophical framework, it's not very intuitive. You know what I mean? Like, because then it just gets into like a gigantic meta debate that just gets nowhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's fair. Um, it, I guess it wasn't totally for me to do it, just rather to understand, like, because I guess, and maybe I could just rephrase the question of like the logoid part. That's I haven't came across that anywhere in my readings so far, I guess. So I don't know if
It's
that's something.
mostly in Saint Gregory Nazianzen and Saint Maximus the Confessor.
Okay, I'll have to check them out. Any particular writings from them on
Uh,
that you can
the
think of?
the Ambigua. I would just be careful reading that because it's extremely complicated.
Gotcha. Like philosophically?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. I'll check that.
The Logi is very. I mean, it's a very amazing doctrine, and it solves a lot of knowledge based critiques against like God's knowledge and stuff like that, like for like the aloneness argument and all that kind of stuff. But like when it comes to just Saint Maximus in general, it's just hard to read the Ambigua because it's so incredibly philosophically heavy.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, cool. And then last question I have, something I was thinking of the other day. I don't even know that I'm going to be able to phrase it uh, great, but hopefully you can kind of pick up what I'm laying out. But I was thinking about, I guess, maybe what's metaphysically happening when it comes to like a demonic or an interaction with Satan. Like, say, for instance, if you're being tempted, because as far as I'm aware, like our thoughts are private from demonic entities, but I guess I'm confused on how that relates to like, can they
Well,
put.
our thoughts are private to demonic entities unless you actually, because this actually also applies to the logi as well. There's also another form of logi that's called logisme, which is basically reflections of of the demonic mind, or the reflections of like the way in which a demonic entity would act. And so if you align basically your will with the way in which a demonic entity would align his will, you guys basically would kind of like synergize in a way in which basically you and God should, if you align your will with God. And then that demon would basically have the ability to manipulate you off of that. Kind of like how, let me put it like this. If you, in synergy doctrine, where we say that we basically align our will with God's will, and then we basically allow God to tell us to do anything, right? And we follow him. The same thing applies to demons, is that if you align your will with demonic entities, right, then your will, basically, you're opening yourself up to being convinced by them to do things. So yeah.
Okay. So when, I guess, what is, when they are tempting us, like what is ontologically happening? Like are they feeding like a thought, like as like an abstract object into us? Or that's the part that I'm kind of curious about on that too.
I mean, we also have our own logi as well that's not grounded in God's mind. And if the demons have the ability to basically utilize their logisme, right, to basically align with whatever your logi is, then that would kind of be them manipulating you in that way.
Okay. Interesting. So yeah, it seems like, I don't know if I'll get it, but it seems like the logoi thing would be helpful if I can grasp it.
Yeah, it's a really amazing doctrine.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's all I got, man. I appreciate it, and God bless.
Cool, man. God bless.
Bryce,
What's up?
GT said he loves you and misses you.
Well, I'll tell GT I love him and I miss him too.
But I have one more question
Go ahead.
before I go. And yeah, I think I kind of asked you this before, one time, but I was kind of gonna ask it again. So like, I want to study the history of like the papacy debate, or I don't know if that's what you call it.
Yeah.
Like I want to approach it like from an unbiased standpoint as I possibly can.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's kind of the thing that I already told you, bro. Like, it's really hard to read something that's not biased in papacy debates at all. Like, because you have to remember that, like, every single person that writes about a position of the papacy, they're going to come to some form of conclusion, whether you're Orthodox or whether you're Catholic. And so, honestly, Jason has a good source, though. Edward Szynski's book on the papacy is pretty good. It's a good book.
Oh, like
Papacy in the
Catholic Jason. Oh yeah,
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 right,
yeah.
yeah, right there.
Um,
Edward Shisinski. That is a good book. I will admit that. It's a really good book.
yeah, no, because like I agree that both sides can like read into it, like presupposing their position,
Yeah,
and
everyone
like
does
can
it.
make it work. So like I don't know. The filioque way is a harder debate for me, like to really get into, because like philosophy, yeah, like that's like honestly kind of where I lack a little bit. But I feel like historical, I feel like is a, I don't know, better one to maybe try and look at. But yeah, I mean,
I mean, like, there's
if
a
that's
approaching the filioque way strictly from a historical perspective is going to be really confusing because it's especially when it comes to like historically, there was a lot of, well, first off, it wasn't talked about as a controversy mostly up until the time of Photius, right? There was some people that had said things around the time of Saint Maximus, and then Saint Maximus's explication of like what that meant is not something that like directly in our opinion, of course, ties to Florence. But other than that, there wasn't really much people pre-schism, or at least honestly prior to Photius, that kind of like made specific arguments historically for it or against it. So reading kind of like the post-schism argumentation is when things get deep, because then people start actually arguing about that problem, because it wasn't really an issue prior to Photius, if that makes sense. Like we would say that everybody agreed prior to Saint Photius. That would be our opinion, right?
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess like I didn't know if like reading the councils themselves was a good way to look at it, but I mean that's like thousands of pages.
Yeah, but
I
like
mean, it's like
most of the councils, though. I'm sorry, 1 second. Oh, okay. Hick at Heart for $5. Thank you very much. He says, if we wouldn't call Jesus autotheos in the intertrinitarian life due to the Father alone being ase, would this be a heresy of subordinationism? I mean, if you're just talking about it intertrinitarian as in like hypostatic, then there wouldn't be anything wrong with that. If you're talking about it by nature, then yeah, that's a problem.
I think
Hypostatically, it's
Netanyahu
fine.
led Abdullah on the panel.
Okay.
Not gonna lie.
Netanyahu did that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Edward Shisinski actually has another book that's actually on the filioque that's really good too. So.
And Bryce, I know you see it. Don't do it. You've already made. Oh my gosh, he did it. He's
No,
made
this-
two slander videos on it already.
I need entertainment.
My gosh.
I need entertainment. What do you got for me, Merciful?
All right, man. So you're saying the Trinity is not three gods?
Bro, are you like freaking on the toilet? What's going on?
I'm not in the 12s, man. What are you talking about?
You got a crazy echo, Habibi.
Okay, sorry. Listen. You guys hear me now?
A little better.
Okay, good. So I'm going to ask you a question. And based on that question, we will know if it's three gods. So how many gods took on flesh?
One person took on flesh.
That's not the question. See? Listen to the question.
Yeah, I
say
know,
how
but
many persons.
when you say gods, though, like, what are you picking that out to be?
It doesn't
Because your
matter.
argument already presupposes that there's more than one God by asking me that question.
How many persons are you?
I'm one person.
See, I can make a plural question and you still can say one. So how many gods took
when
on
you
flesh?
say how many gods took on flesh, though, you're presupposing that the three persons are already gods.
Which three persons?
What?
I need to speak about the three persons.
You said how many gods. I'm saying that your argument is smuggling in the notion already that the three persons are three gods.
No. I can, for example, I can ask you, right? How many persons are you? I can use a plural form of the question and you can still say one God, one person, correct?
Yeah, but your argument doesn't have the baggage. That
There is
you're
no
trying to give with
argument
your
yet.
example.
I'm just asking a
I
question.
mean, there definitely is. This is just how many gods died on the cross, but with the incarnation instead. You think I'm stupid?
But okay. So are you gonna? I need an answer, brother. Okay. Whether you like it or you don't, you have to answer. Right?
Yeah, so one God insofar as the person of Jesus.
Okay. So how many gods we said took on flesh? One God. Okay.
Insofar as the person of Jesus.
Sure.
Are you gonna allow qualifications?
No.
Did you say
Because you
no?
believe, because you believe in one God.
Okay, well then I'm like, that's just stupid, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Bryce, I don't even know why you did it.
Are you gonna allow me to qualify it? No.
Hey, Gabriel asked a good
Are we
comment.
serious?
He said how many gods did not die?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's the second premise. I'm terrified
Just
of
too
you,
easy.
servant. I'm terrified of you, brother. Yes, I'm horrified that you came up here. It scared the crap out of me.
How many gods did not create the world? Crickets. Got him. Look at it. Crickets.
How many gods are
Hey,
from the
Abdul, how
Father?
do you feel about Kata saying he mugs you?
Kata is the people that live in the region that I can't name without getting Bryce live flagged.
My thing froze for a minute. Uh-oh. Sorry, guys.
Have y'all read Phenoxus of Mabek's theology on Chalcedon, saying that Chalcedon introduced a fourth person in the Trinity?
Huh?
I've heard his argument, but I mean,
I'll
like,
send it to Bryce J if Bryce J is willing to read it for the 47 people in the chat.
you want me to read it? Like right
Yeah,
now?
I'll send it to you.
Okay, go ahead. I'll read it. Servant, if you think that it's actually not a good thing to be able to qualify something when I say one God insofar as the person of Jesus, and then you said, no. All right, God. Right? And then I said, are you going to allow me to qualify? And you said no. That was like the stupidest blunder I think I've ever seen in my life. All right.
I'll send it to you.
Is it Philoxenus?
Phenoxius, whatever you want to call it.
Philoxenus?
Panasonics, whatever the hell you want. I don't care about his name.
Philoxenus of Maba. Letter to the monks of Senun. Holy moly. Okay. He says, at the Synod of Chalcedon, which was their doing, sustains their heresy. It began right at the definition they created. Father, Son, Spirit, and Lord made human. If anyone thinks that he has been falsely accused by us, let him read any part of what it put forth, and immediately he would discover that it is just as we said. In it, this was written: Christ does not belong to the Trinity, but was another Lord outside of it, who became human. And they still called him Lord, even though they located him outside the Trinity as to teach that he is a new God and made Lord. Are we dead ass right now? Is that a real thing?
He's dead serious. It's in the Greek Petrologia.
That's a real quote?
Yep, dead serious. Yep. Final serious. Yeah, yes, sir. And when this was asked to Mickey, he said, yeah, it's an implication. He doesn't mean that's actually the acts. He's implying that's what they taught.
Bro.
Hey, Bryce, did you see what Dom put in the chat?
Yeah, Augustine. Letter 43 was quoting Donatus. I didn't. I haven't read Augustine's letter 43, but I should.
Yo, Bryce James.
What's up?
Why don't you accept relative identity, bro?
I don't have an issue with relative identity. What are you talking about?
But like, which view do you accept?
I'll just hold pure like Geechee and RI. Who cares?
You do?
Sure. Doesn't go.
No, like,
against
what's your
my belief.
actual view?
What?
Not no shares, man. What's your actual view?
I hold to relative identity.
Oh, I didn't know that. Last time I talked to you, you said that like Linus's law can be reconciled.
Can be reconciled? I mean, like, if you're talking about it, like, it depends on, like if you're talking about, like, the eunomian premise, I believe it can. If you're talking about, like, the distinction between the persons in general, then, I mean, no, I'd use relative identity. But, like, if you're talking about, like, the eunomian premise of, like, the distinctions based off of their properties, then I would say it can be reconciled. I think it could be, I think absolute identity in some way can be used, but it depends on the argument.
You read Geach?
I've read the book that describes Geach's view. Let me say his name real quick. Hold on. I like just finished reading it today, actually.
Molto?
Nicholas Griffin.
Oh. Griffin has a different view, but
It's
I
a,
think
it's
he's
a,
right.
yeah, but like I was just reading basically like how Geach describes it and just kind of like understanding it from that way, which is fine. And then also understanding a little bit of like, you know, David Wiggins and stuff like that. I don't have an issue with relative identity at all.
No,
I
that's
mean, like
base, bro. I
I
didn't know
would,
you accepted it.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't contradict my position. Who cares? You know, I think denying it just to deny it doesn't make any sense.
Wait, so you're on the no absolute identity wave or what?
I was never on the absolute identity wave.
Bro, one time I was on your live with the British accent, and you said that that Leibniz's law can, like with the Trinity can be reconciled. I remember.
If
This
you're
was
if
like
you're
a
if you're
month ago.
if you're talking about like what were we talking about, the distinction of the persons?
I was just running like, oh, I was just saying like, the law of identity goes against it, blah blah blah. And I was like, do you accept Leibniz's law? And you're like, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like I can accept Leibniz's law in like some cases, sure. I don't mean that I hold to it entirely for like everything we're talking about with the Trinity.
Accepting it in some cases seems like more of Griffin's view.
Say again?
I said accepting it in some cases seems more like of Griffin's view.
I mean,
Because
like
Geechee,
I would say that like relative identity is always going to be the primary that you would utilize. But then like if you're talking about certain things, like for example, if you're talking about the intertrinitarian life very specifically, as in the things in God, then using absolute identity wouldn't be an entire like a big issue.
yeah. I mean, I'm a pure
That's all I mean.
Geechean, bro. I reject
Pure
absolute identity
Geechee.
wholeheartedly.
Oh, fully?
Yeah, NAI. I think it's
Alright.
ill-formed.
See, dude, I'm not gonna lie. You want to know the argument that actually convinced me of relative identity? Because I do admit that I was like skeptical about it because I didn't understand it very well, and I kind of like accepted some rhetoric that I was taught previously by sources that relative identity presupposes a bunch of shit that I can't affirm. Well, like with Catholicism or something. I can't even remember what it was because I just never really studied it much. And then I actually started like studying relative identity, and the argument specifically that convinced me was the ship of Theseus.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of
like
examples.
the ship of Theseus argument, like in of itself, was just like enough to make me go, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think you need to hold relative identity, otherwise the ship of Theseus is like fucking impossible to talk about.
Well, I think most people unknowingly affirm some form of relative identity.
Yeah. I mean, everyone does in their daily life. You know, that was like another thing that kind of like convinced me in the book as well. What section is it? Hold on. There was a section that kind of like talked about it specifically. It was the ultimate sortals section, like page 76. When it's talking about like ultimate sortals and it starts talking about how like everyone pretty much uses that kind of stuff in their daily life all the time. Like I was like reading like the examples that it was using, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been using that shit for daily life. I don't know why the fuck I wouldn't use it for God then.
Dude, even if you read Frege, who accepted absolute identity, he even says that, like without a sortal, like you can't make like statements. Like when you say like one, it's like not what form to say just one. You have to say one what. Like you have to add a concept.
Yeah, one what or in what sense? You know, like it's not a proper. What is it? What is it? It's not. It's in. Oh gosh, ill-formed sortal. What would they call that?
To have, like,
I'm still learning
no
about like all
have
the
no concept.
Well, like yeah, it's a basic. Well, like an empty concept. Like if I say there's three red things in the room.
Yeah, Gage called that vacuous. It's a vacuous concept.
Vacuous, yeah. So it's just like it's ill-formed. It's not something that actually like kind of like gives enough information to be able to actually attribute a sortal properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like relative identity. I like it.
No, that's base, bro. No, that's all I wanted to ask you.
Bryce, according to Abdul Masih, you are absolutely identical to Nestorius.
How
do you feel?
I just reject it, bro.
Do you reject the major or the minor?
There was no major or minor premise to that.
Yeah, that's just gonna be a
Yeah, you need to learn fucking syllogism.
I just like saying words, bro. Leave me alone.
I see that. Yeah, you're a word sayer.
Yeah. Why do you think I don't debate?
Dude, I just want to say this.
I'm really just here for the vibes.
Is that a Rivals reference, bro?
Maybe.
That was a Marvel Rivals reference. That's crazy. I'm just here for the vibes, dude.
Hey Bryce, have you ever seen like a debate between Jason and Noah Body?
I saw them debate the papacy a long time ago.
I saw them debate the papacy a couple nights. It's the funniest stuff you'll ever watch.
What
I saw it a couple
them
nights
yelling
ago.
at each other?
Yeah, dude.
It's always
Like,
it's always funny, bro.
it's hilarious.
I love watching freaking Dom and Jay go at it, bro. It's so funny. Like just like the way that they just get like heated and shit is so incredibly funny to me.
I just
Furry
like
and
watching
Reg.
Dom debate in
Shut
general.
up.
Hey man, how you doing?
Doing good, man. What's up?
Nothing much.
Hi.
Prove the Trinity is three gods. Is that your
Pretty-
question?
Pretty simple, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was Father and the Mother and the Son, right?
What?
Are you did you get that from the Quran? What are you talking about?
Well, that's the Trinity, Father, Mother, and the Son, like from the Egyptian,
No, sir.
like Osiris, Horus, and Isis.
No. That entire concept of the Egyptians having some kind of trinity is something that came long after the Christian trinity existed.
Oh, long after or before? I mean, Egyptians were before the
After.
Christianity?
Yeah, so there was still Egyptian
What?
pagans, by the way, during the time of Christianity, in case you didn't know that.
So the Egyptian learned the religion from Jesus.
Was that argument in the room with me?
You said Egyptian learned it from somehow from Christians?
I'm saying that the other religions that attempt to attribute some kind of trinity to their view usually always has been something that they added to their religion after the trinity was talked about in Christianity. It's the same thing with Hinduism.
Yes. Yeah, so Hinduism has a trikaya, something called trikaya.
The
which is
Trimurti.
called the mind.
The
Yeah,
Trimurti.
trikaya.
Yeah, and that view didn't exist until like 300 AD.
Show it to me.
What do you mean show it to you? Show you that
Prove
it doesn't
it.
exist prior to 300 AD? Show you that something
Yeah.
doesn't happen?
Because it's like literally thousands of years old. You have temples that have Trinity, 10,000-year-old temples, Buddhist temples that have this stuff.
Show me one.
Yeah, go to Buddhist temples, you'll find Trikaya there,
Bruh.
10,000-year-old temples.
Bruh.
Three Buddha. You have three Buddhas. Bro, I'll show you. There are three Buddhas sitting and represents the cosmic power, the soul, and the material world. That's Trikaya. It's all over. I mean, how did you miss that one?
So it says that the first time that the actual doctrine was put in. By the way, Hinduism is not Buddhism, just so you're aware.
Same thing.
No, they're not the same at all.
Well, to British, it's not the same, but for us, it's the same.
What?
So when British came to India, they did not know what the hell it is because everyone had different philosophies. They put all of them into Hinduism. Hinduism is a term
The
that was
frick that got to do with what?
because you think Hinduism is one thing. Hinduism is literally
I said that
50,000
Hinduism and
philosophies in one.
Buddhism is not the same thing. Buddhism
Because
at its
there's no
root
such
is an
thing as
atheistic
Hinduism.
religion.
Because
What?
there's no such thing as there's no such thing as Hinduism.
So there's
Because
not a core tenet that every Hinduistic faith follows.
100%. No, every Hindu is different.
That's ridiculous, and that's dumb.
I'm not making this up. You can check it out.
Okay. Oh, hold on one second.
There's like literally 900 different type of
At
Hinduism.
Vile Vendetta super chatted $10. What book on relative identity are you reading? Also, does the Father create the Son by will?
No, he does not create the Son at all, brother. But the book that I'm reading on relative identity is literally just called Relative Identity by Nicholas Griffin, as well as let me see here. There's another one that I'm looking at as well from Peter Thomas Geach. It's called Reference and Generality. Pretty good. So the actual doctrine that was actually fleshed out is something that originated in 300 AD onwards in this thing called the Puranas. And then in Kalidasa's poem, as well in 4th and 5th century AD. Prior to that, there was no actual Trimurti that properly existed. As in, they didn't actually posit it as the ontology. They posited it as a concept.
That's a point of contention. I think we can put that aside. But I told you that three gods or Trinity has been around for a while.
Well, I mean, I don't believe that it's three gods at all. And second, I have a question. even if there was similarities to more ancient religions that held to a threeness in any way, shape, or form, how does that prove that the Trinity is false in any way?
Because just the same old lies that people can attribute it to God.
And you can prove their
Um,
lies?
Yeah,
Because in
Allah
order
says
for
they're
it
not.
to be false, you have to prove that they're lies.
Because in the Quran it says it's a lie. It's the same lie that they utter.
There it is. So when I asked you earlier that the Trinity would be the mother, son, and the mother, son, and the Father, right? That you got that from the Quran. You did.
No, I'd say
Yeah, it is. The Quran. The
Trin-
Quran misattributes the Trinity as the mother, father, and son.
Yeah, because it's referring to the Egyptian Trinity. Which
Really?
was
So
based
then
on-
why? Yeah. So then why was he in that specific verse? Why was Allah specifically addressing Christians?
Christians, this word doesn't exist in the Quran.
What?
Okay, the El Kitab. Why was
Okay,
he
people of the
addressing
book, dude.
Al-Kitab? Why was he
People of the
addressing
book is
Al-Kitab?
any person with a book. You
Wait,
think you're the
El-
only one?
Wait,
Oh,
what
you
scholar says El Kitab is anybody with a book? Please.
Anybody with a book is people of
What
the book.
scholar says that?
Every scholar says that.
Yeah,
No
give me one.
scholars say that.
Give
None
me
of
one.
them say
I
that.
say it.
Oh, you're a scholar?
Yeah. Like so. Okay, so the
Yeah.
Chinese are not people of the
Wait,
book.
so
No,
Japanese are not
Ibn-
people of
people.
the
No,
book.
because Allah
Mayans
specifically
are not people of the
attributes.
book.
Hold on,
Only
people
you clowns are people of the book.
in the
Who told you that?
Quran. People of the book are people that are attributed as someone who received a revelation from Allah at some point.
Show
You know
it to
that,
me.
right?
No, show it to me.
No. Bryce, you don't have to show nothing.
Exactly,
Do
because you don't have
wait,
it.
hi. Do you disagree with Ibn Abbas that says the El Kitab is Jews and Christians?
Who's Ibn Abbas?
You don't
Is
know
he
who
not,
Ibn
he's not my
Abbas is?
prophet.
Wait, you don't know who Muhammad's cousin Ibn Abbas is?
Super chatted $5. 6 bajillion
I
Wait,
don't
are
know
you-
Muhammad's cousin whose name is Ali. I don't know
Are you,
about
his only cousin is not Ali. Are you Qurani? Are you Quran only?
No, Ali is not in the Quran, bro. What's
Are
wrong
you
with
Quran only? That's what I'm asking.
No.
Are you? What are you, Sunni?
I am Quran plus my myself, like my brain. Quran plus brain.
So you're Quran only.
Okay.
No, Quran
so
plus
do you,
brain
so do you,
plus
do you
history.
believe that? Do you believe that the Chinese religions and the Hindus that they're polytheists, like directly?
They're mentioned in the Quran like Buddhists. Yahud are Buddhist. Hindus.
Okay.
Or he's a non-denominational Muslim.
What?
What
does that mean?
Did you just say Buddhists or polytheists? Like, what the hell's happening right now?
Buddhist. the Quran mentions Hud, Buddha, Hud, Yahud are the Buddhist.
Yahud is Buddhism?
Yes.
Are you just saying shit right now?
I'm not. I'm not literally telling you. Like, bro, you talk to most of the people you talk to, they're Masonic Muslims. They're Masonic Muslims are like MK Ultra. They're like Christians and Jews. They believe in Masonic shit.
Muslims?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're Masonic.
What is Masonic Muslim?
Masonic Muslim is waiting for a Messiah to come back. These are Masonic Muslims. These are
That's
like
every
literally
Muslim.
Christians.
Wait, so you don't believe the Messiah Ibn Maryam is coming back?
Are you seriously? Are you
I'm
clowning?
asking
What
you.
the hell?
Why are you getting mad? I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous thing. Like anyone who's gonna come down from the sky? Like what the hell?
Wait, hold on. Okay.
You don't believe Jesus is
Mas-
coming back as a Muslim?
Hell no. Our
Wait.
prophet is the last prophet. If actually someone believes that, he's a kafir.
Wait, do you believe in the Hadith?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I show you in Surah Bukhari that Muhammad says Isa ibn Maryam is going to come back, what are you going to say?
Yo, it's called Christ rising inside you. So it's consciousness, awareness.
Oh
Yes, Christ
my
rising.
gosh. What?
It's inside you.
Christ
not coming
consciousness
something from
plus
outside.
hadiths? This is blowing my mind. Wait, so do you believe that Jesus was the Messiah?
Why is he laughing?
Do you believe that
Why is
Jesus
he-
was the
does
Messiah?
have you never heard of Christ rising inside you, like consciousness?
Do you believe that Jesus is the Messiah?
We don't have this name. We have Isa.
Do you believe that Isa is Al-Masih?
Yes, he is.
Okay, so he is the Messiah.
Messiah means wiped. Somebody who's been wiped out clean from the history.
What?
Yeah, that must.
There's nobody that believes that, by the way. There's nobody that thinks that's what Messiah means? Name one person that says that.
In the Arabic, Masaha means something wiped clean.
That's a lie.
Al-Masih.
El-Masih comes from the Hebrew word Meshiho, which means the anointed one. Why are you lying?
I'm not Masonic, man. What the hell? I'm not Masonic. I told you I'm not Masonic.
El-Masih
it's messianic, bro.
Comes
that's
from
messianic,
Hebrew,
man.
dude,
I'm not messianic.
Listen, stop lying. El-Masih comes from the Hebrew word Meshiho, which means anointed one. Don't lie to us.
All right, so let me give you some history about the Jews.
I don't want your fake history.
Jews came after Islam. They came from Andalusia. They came from the guy named Mamun Musa Rambam. He was in Andalusia. Rambam, yeah. The guy, his name is Mamun Musa. He's the one who wrote their Old Testament in Andalusia.
Hi. In Surah Al-Baqarah. Okay, that's fine. In Surah
Did you say that came out? Wait. Abdul, hold on 1 second.
Go ahead.
Did you say that the Jews came after Muhammad?
Yes, that's what
in 900 years ago.
And Musa is not Moses of the Old Testament?
No, it's Mamun Musa, the guy buried in Morocco. Mamun Musa Rambam. His name is Rambam. Mamun Musa, man.
Okay.
What is this guy's religion? What is this guy's religion? I don't even know.
I'm Muslim. I'm giving you sacred knowledge, bro.
Right, go ahead.
Take it or leave it.
In Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah says addressing the Jews, who's he addressing? That said they have the Torah from Muhammad. From Musa. Who's he addressing?
So first of all, the word Jew is not in the Quran. The word is Yahud. Okay.
What does that translate to?
Yahud means the ones who think that they're guided.
The word Yahud translates to the one who thinks they're guided.
Yes, and meaning Hindus and Buddhists.
Do you want to go to the etymology of the word Yahud?
Calm down for a second. Because in the Quran, they are vegetarians. Okay, what? That's number one. Yeah, because they said to Musa, give us some vegetables because we can't eat the shit. So they're like, oh, give us some. I don't know why you're laughing.
Bro, your view is so esoteric and nobody believes this. Literally nobody believes what you're saying. Like your view, show me one person in history that follows this the way you follow it.
So the esoteric Islam, which is a Sufi Islam, is very much internalized. It's internal. It's not something we don't come out and like I'm prevented.
Are you Sufi?
Yes, I'm a higher level Sufi, 33 degrees. So
that's Freemasonry. That's Freemasonry. You just said 33rd degree.
No, they learned it from us. All right,
this is trolling. There's no way.
I'm not trolling.
33rd degree Sufi. That's what you are?
Yeah, I'm 33rd degree Sufi.
I heard him sniffle. He's laughing.
I'm not. My wife is laughing in the back because now she's
because she knows that you're lying, bro. That you're saying crazy shit.
She's laughing at you guys because you guys are. By the way, I'm prevented to go on TikTok because this is not something we're supposed to discuss. But I'm telling you because I like your face. You're almost Muslim.
Hey, yo, what the?
Because I see light in his face. I see some light.
Hey, hi.
That's just because he's white.
1 second, man.
Hi. Do you hold to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah?
Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah?
It says there is no 33 degrees. Never mind. Sorry. It said, never mind. I'm just not even going to.
I'll give you the verse in the Quran. I'll give you the verse in the Quran.
Question, hi?
Can I give you, hold on, because he's making fun of my 33 degrees.
Go ahead.
Can you go to the chapter number 3, read verse number 33?
Okay. Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 33?
No, 3.
Al-Ma'idah is chapter 3.
No.
Yahawan.
Al-Imran, the family.
Al-Ma'idah
is a family, 33 degree family.
Indeed,
33.
Indeed, Allah chose Adam, Noah, the family of Abraham, and the family of Imran above all the people of their time.
There you go. It's me. It's our family.
What? How does it?
We're the 33 degree Freemasons.
So you are Freemason?
Yeah, because our prophet was a Mason. He was a carpenter.
What?
He was from, his tribe is Banu Najjar. Just like Isa, he was a Freemason too. Banu Najjar, to this day, Banu Najjar are carpenters. I'm not making this up. I don't know. I know you think that I'm lying. Banu Najjar, type it. Banu Najjar, that's the family of our prophet. Freemasons.
You said it's what again?
Banu Najjar. The prophet's family is called Banu Najjar. Just type Muhammad's family, Banu Najjar. Banu Najjar, Najjar, Najjar.
The Banu Najjar were a prominent clan of Khazraj tribe in Medina, closely associated with the Prophet Muhammad as his maternal relatives and early supporters. They were key members of the Ansar, welcomed Muhammad during his hijrah, and hosted the construction of the first mosque in Medina on their
There you go.
land.
Construction. There.
There you go. Construction.
Banu Najjar literally
I told you we
means-
build things. I told you we build things.
No. Najjar
Freemasons
actually
also
means-
build things. Therefore, I am
Carpet-
Freemason.
Bro, Banu Najjar means carpenters. Type it in Arabic. Banu Najjar in Arabic, translate it. Banu Najjar means carpenters.
Sons of the carpenter.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
You know
like in a
who's
way,
the-
you'd
who's the-
also kind of. So, in a way, you'd also kind of be like the son of Jesus too, right?
Yeah, he was the son of Jesus. Our prophet was the son of Jesus.
Really? He's the
Yeah,
son of
because his
God?
name was Abdullah. No. Look, we don't have this concept of God cannot be seen. You cannot what's the word I'm looking for? Anthropomorphize God. You can't do that, man.
Anthropomorphize. Wait, hold
Yeah,
on.
you can't.
But
It's
you say you
blasphemy.
hold to, you're Sunni though, you hold to the hadith.
I am Sufi.
Yeah, Sufi falls under the category of Sunni, Habibi. Yalla, Latif. You said you're Allah Sunnah wa Jama'ah.
Sunni is a derogatory term that was given to us by Shia. So
Are you
anybody who's
Allah
not
Sunnah? Are
Shia,
you Allah Sunnah wa Jama'ah or no?
I am Muslim
Do
Sufi.
you reject Allah Sunnah wa Jama'ah?
Who are those people?
The people of the book and the Sunnah.
Then there's all the Muslims are Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. then in
Well,
that
no,
case.
the Shias reject the Sunnah. They have their own hadith.
No, Shias are not part of Islam.
Yeah, okay,
They're
good.
just-
I that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so you hold to the hadith, right? Of Muhammad.
Yeah, I gave you, for example, you gave me the hadith about Isa coming down, and I told you it's talking about Christ rising inside you. It's
Okay.
internal rising.
That's fine. That's fine. What about the hadith where Muhammad sees Allah as a man with curly hair and touches his hand, touches his chest with his hand?
A'udhu billah from min dhalik. Like this is
A'udhu
blasphemy.
billahi Muhammad rajim.
This is blasphemy. Man. What the hell?
Well, that's what the hadith says. It's
Then
Hassan. Good.
then we throw that hadith in the trash.
But it's Hassan. It's great as Hassan. But
It doesn't matter, man. You cannot
damn. So you're
think
showing
of God as a person. What the hell, man?
Okay, wait. So it is Ibn Hajar al
Hold on.
Asqalani. Let me
Are
ask
you Christian? Are you Christian?
Dude, let me ask my question. Is
Sure.
Ibn Hajar al Asqalani wrong when he said Hassan hadith are good?
I don't care who says what. Anyone who
Ah.
anthropomorphizes. What's the word, man?
Anthropomorphize. Yeah, you're saying
Yes.
Abdul, by the way,
anthropomorphize
he's
God.
not trolling. I looked up the inner return thing of Jesus. They actually believe that shit. He's not trolling.
game is game.
I'm not
bro.
trolling. I don't know why you think that I'm
I
trolling.
didn't think he was.
I've
trolling. I
never
just
spoke with a
returned
Sufi
it.
in my entire life, bro. This is just like freaking so not something I've heard. Because like when you said you were Muslim, I immediately was just like, oh, okay, so we can have a conversation like Sunnis or Shias or whatever. And then like you started saying all this way that you interpret the Quran, and I'm just like, what? And yeah.
The Sufis are like the Gnostics to us.
Yeah.
But I think everybody should like what you have to do. You have to read any text. Like Allah wants you to be at a higher degree. You have to have abstract understanding. You can't just go with the apparent, because apparent always turns out to be false. So you have to look deep. You cannot, when you say you cannot judge a book by its cover, you have to always look deep inside. You have to have abstract way of thinking. Otherwise, you're going to mess yourself up. Like
Okay, but
literally.
I'm sorry. Hi. What about the first 3 generations of Muhammad's companions? Do you just reject them? The Salaf?
No.
The Salaf?
We don't call them Salaf. We call them the companions of our Prophet. They are
Yeah,
the first.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to call them the Salafs because I know you don't hold to the Salaf Asade. But I'm saying the first 3 generations, as in like Ibn Abbas. Do you reject him?
No, we don't have this kind of criteria that the first 3 generations, because there was first, second generation, our Prophet's kids were martyred. So come on, those people are criminal. You can't say that.
No, I'm just asking, do you reject someone like Ibn Abbas?
Look, our Prophet is the
Yeah, I can't
final
get an answer.
authority. I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know what you're gonna bring to me. So if I
No,
say
I'm just
yeah,
asking. I'm just asking. Okay, who do you get your theology from? Is this your interpretation of the Quran, or do you have scholars that you
so I'll give
read?
you the I'll give you the scholars that we trust,
Okay.
that we have the writings, because I don't have Ibn Abbas writing. I don't have his book. All right. So we have Muhammad's book, which is the Quran, like his first-hand book.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a student of Imam Malik, not Imam Malik, his book. We have his book, like actual book, that his thoughts, that I can say, okay, yeah, I know that this guy is saying this. Then we have Imam Ghazali's book. Then we have Razi's book. So you have to give me a book written by a person that I can judge him. I'm not going to go with the hearsay that this guy said this. I'm like, what the hell? I don't know.
Wait, Imam
You
Malik,
just appeal to mystery. Like as soon as like he brings something that's contradictory, now we just like, oh well, I don't hold to that. I don't know that guy.
Yeah, of course, like because you can't take it from random.
If I find something that supports you, though, right, like from the same people, we also say, oh, that I don't know, we don't know that guy.
Wait,
Okay.
hi, do you hold to the Ashari creed?
I don't know about that.
Is
I'd
it-
be most yeah, they say Ashari Maturidi, but there is not a book out there that can encapsulate all these ideas, right? So the ideas at the end of the day
This
goes
is
back to the
Gnostic.
Quran. Yeah, you can't take, like you can't say, well, there's this one book, you know, I should conform my head to this one book, except it's Quran. So only Quran you have to go back to. Everything else you can take or not take. It doesn't have to. You don't have to.
Okay. Is God absolutely simple?
Give me the Arabic word for that. Simple. What is simple in Arabic?
Truly one.
He is unlike any. So he is undefined, not one. You can't say one because then you say, is he number one? You
Damn,
can't say.
they're full-fledged apophthegms too, bro. I don't know what to do.
You can't say
you
one.
can't even say Allah is one. I don't know what to
Wait,
do.
but the Quran says Allah is one.
Yeah, but that's
He
straight
says
from
he's
Allah though, so it's fine.
He says undefined. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Ahad is undefined.
Ahad means one. Are you
No,
serious?
Wahid means one.
Oh my gosh, dude! Hold on.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Wahid is one.
No,
Ahad means undefined.
Wahad is a collection of one. Ahad means one. What are we talking about?
Wahid means
Ahad.
one.
No, it says Ahad means one or the only one.
Ahad. Okay, this is a translation. Ahad in the Quran means undefinable. Ahad
Where do
means
you, okay, where do you get this etymology from?
Wait,
It's from Arabic. You have to know Arabic to understand this.
Yeah, where do you get the
So the-
etymology
wait, so
of
this-
Ahad means undefinable?
so the
If I'm asking-
67th name of Allah, which is Al Ahad, it's the undefined one. That's the name.
You can't. What it means is that you cannot define God. You cannot say he's
His
like
name.
this
So
and-
yeah, it's the soul because Muslims would say that the 67th name of Allah would be the sole one. So in your view, it would have to be the undefined. That's a name of Allah to you.
Yeah, he is al-wahid. He is the only one. You can say that.
It doesn't. It says Al Ahad. Doesn't
Yes.
say Wahad.
There is no name called al-ahad, by the way. He's ahad, he's undefined. There's no name called al-ahad.
Is the
Brother, you're talking to somebody who knows. Like I'm telling you, there's no name called al-ahad. He's wal-wahid. He is the only wahid al-qahar, by the way. He's the only one who can destroy you completely, like demolish you. He's the only one. Other people can try to destroy you.
Every research of the 99 names of Allah says that the 67th name is the sole one, Al Ahad. I can't find a single source that says Wahad. Islam City, Huda TV,
Again-
Shutterstock, Islamic Relief UK. That's myislam.org,
Bro,
Muslim
so
Central,
this-
99namesofallah.com.
This is all messianic stuff. This is
names is al-wahid, not ahad.
yes, I told them that. But bro, the problem is you're looking at the messianic stuff.
Can I have
These
just
people-
one source that says that the name's actually Wahad, please? Like one book.
He's al-wahid al-qahar. So he's
One
the only
book.
one who can destroy you. Quran says that.
The Quran does not say Wahad.
Wahid
for that name.
al-qahar. What? No, I can show it to you.
So the 99 names, right? The things that are established, are all of the names of Allah established in the Quran?
No.
Okay. So what hadiths do you use to determine that Al-Wahhad is his name instead of Al-Ahad?
From the Quran. Like the Quran mentions his names.
Show me the verse. I'll bite.
Are we going or no?
Yeah, 1 second. Give me one.
No, but do you want to go? I don't have to go.
But Habibi, you should go with your
Let
wife,
me just
man.
finish this thing.
Go with your wife, man. Ya Allah.
Give me 1 second.
What the hell was that?
No, because I was displaying something. 1 second. Ahad. Wahid. But actually, Ahad is not even, Wahid is not even Ahad's root. I just realized that.
Yeah, I know.
So Ahad is different than Wahid. I was just looking at the root. Even the roots are different.
Yeah, and the other is wahad.
Wahada is, so I just wanted to prove this to you. If you look at Ahada, is a different root. Ahad is undefined, like Ahadukum, like one of you.
Oh my
Wahid
gosh.
is Wahada. Bro, either take it or not. I mean, I don't need to. But Wahid comes from Wahada, and he is Al-Wahid Al-Qahar. So he's Wahid.
Hold on 1 second.
Wahid.
Wahid comes from Wahada.
Okay, so that doesn't mean one, because every source says it means one.
So
Wahid.
Wahid means one.
Okay,
Al-Wahid.
the Quran says that Allah is that.
Okay, so 3865.
No, dude, chapter 5, verse 73. It states specifically that He is one. Allah is one.
Wahid.
Did you hear that?
No, but ilahun wahid.
Ilahun Wahid. He is the only God.
It's
He's the
not
only.
Allah
He's
wahid.
not
It's ilah.
Ilahun
Wahid.
Wahid.
That says no, bruh.
It's not al-wahid, it's wahid. And the one before it is ilah, not Allah. So
And
don't lie.
explain to him properly. And I don't think he understood it. So you have to talk to him nicely. I don't think he understood what you said. Explain to him what you just said, because even I kind of explained to him.
It's ilahun wahid.
It's
So
Ilahun Wahid.
one God, not Allah is the one. So it's not defining Allah. It's not defining Allah. It's defining that just that there are
Is Allah that one God?
One God.
Is Allah the one God?
No, if you read the verse, it's talking about there is one God. So this one God, yes,
Is
it's
Allah.
Allah, but it's not Allah is the one. It's just like it's saying, like, so for example, I'm saying there is in your room one person. This means it's only you in this room. So your name is
Whatever his name is.
Breach.
Richie.
Bryce. It's Bryce.
Bryce.
So when I say in your room there is one person, this means this one person is you. But it doesn't mean
And I am the one person.
Yeah, you can say that, but that.
So you can say Allah is the one God.
Yeah, he's the only God.
You can
That's it.
say he is one God, but
So
he's
Allah
not
is
the
one.
No, you can't say that.
You cannot say that.
You cannot define him. Yeah, you cannot define him, man. He's
Are you
undefined.
saying? Are you
So
okay?
the moment
okay,
you
so let me
start
ask
to
you a
say,
question.
the moment you start to define, that's where you go wrong. You can't
Okay.
define.
Hi, let me ask you a question. Are you saying that there's no quantities that can be said of Allah?
Undefinable. So the moment you start to define Allah, you will fail right there.
Then
You
answer my
can't
question.
define him.
Okay, are
Do
you
his
saying he
names
doesn't have
define him?
No.
Okay, what is his names? What is his names predicated of? Are they like just said because why not, or are they something of a
What do
substance?
they refer to?
So the names are his permanent titles. They're not his definition, they're permanent titles. So for example, they're like his phone numbers. You call on those names to reach him. They don't define him. They only are his permanent title. So he is known by the first, the last, the most merciful. All
Yep.
right. But you can't define his mercy. These are the names he gave it to us so we can comprehend him, but it doesn't define him. We call on him with these names, but that's it.
Okay, I have a question. So, I assuming you hold to some type of apophatic theology, just negations, what Allah is not. Do those negations turn to some perfections? For example, Allah is not composite. That means he's not made up of parts. That means he's perfectly simple. Would you agree?
Again, you're defining and we don't define.
You can't even apophatically define him, Abdul. I'm telling you.
You can't define him.
What the hell is
Because
this?
you're going-
Does it exist?
Because see
Can you
what
say
what
Allah
can say?
exists? Can you
So
say Allah exists?
Allah is the creator of existence. He is Al-Wajid. He is the one who create existence. You can't say he exists because then you will say he exists and who created him.
How
He
does
is-
that pop? You know what? Okay.
See
So
exactly.
Allah, so you can't say Allah exists. You can't make an argument that
You
Allah
can't
exists.
say that because we exist. The moment you say we exist, then you can't say that he's like us. Exactly. So when it comes to Allah, your mind should be blown away. See how you're doing it? This is how you should submit to Allah because He's beyond. He is beyond anything that you can ever imagine. That's when you submit. You say, you know what? I am human and He is the creator.
Okay. Well,
This is the reaction I wanted from you. Thank you.
Okay, all right, man. You go hang out with your wife because I know she was talking to
Wait,
you.
one
I
question
was
before you
good.
leave.
All right, one more thing for Abdul,
Hi,
and then we're gonna move on.
were you Sufi before your wife was Sufi, or you guys came together both as Sufis that got married?
No, 99% of the Muslims are Sufi, but it depends which degree are they on. Most of them are at one degree,
Yeah,
but
hey,
most of them are Sufi.
yalla, Deef Habibi, yalla. Go ahead, man.
I know you're laughing.
No, I'm serious. I'm happy for you. No, genuinely, I'm happy for you and your
Are
wife.
Christians are Christians like first degree Sufis as well?
I like Gnostic Christians, by the way. There's many Gnostic Christians on TikTok.
I'm sure you do like Gnostics.
The
They-
flesh
they-
is evil, Habibi, yalla, Deef.
There is a guy, his name is Son of God Ministry. I probably have seen him. He's very good. You know this guy? Son of God Ministry? Josh? You should check him out. He's really good.
We're good.
I know you probably would not. But
All right. Well, anyway,
You-
I'm gonna go ahead and move on, man. I appreciate you coming up here and educating us about Sufism.
it's not Sufism, it's Islam. It's not. I'm not
Okay.
defining. It's
Yalla,
bad.
Habibi.
My
Yalla.
bad.
Allahu Alam.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
I got cooked, guys. I don't know what to do. I've got nothing. Sorry, guys. Clip me. I got nothing. I don't know what to do with that belief at all. I have no idea how to even talk about that belief. I got baked by a Sufi, bro. I have nothing. I have no idea how to even approach that belief. That's so crazy. I don't know any of like. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. Eric Coda for $2 says Allah doesn't exist super essentially, apparently. Yeah. Pretty much. I think that we need to pair him against the Elohimist. I think that would be a good debate. You there, Kevin? I know you've been kind of sitting in here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that that whole thing.
Don't worry about that guy. What's up?
That was crazy. I don't know how you. I'm trying to. Now it just makes everything that I was going to say just sound trivial. That's crazy. Now I heard about you from somebody I forget, and then happened to just come across your live, and I had two questions. The first one was, what argument do you usually run for God, or how do you usually run your arguments for God's existence?
It depends on the person, but like either I'll use an argument like from divine conceptualism, or if somebody is more philosophically inclined, like I'll use something like the argument from motion or something.
Like Aquinas' first way.
Not exactly Aquinas' first way, but more just like the Aristotelian method, like the Aristotelian way of doing it.
Mm.
Because Aquinas kind of adds a couple things onto that argument. It's more like what Saint Maximus the Confessor does for his argument of motion.
Have you ever heard of the argument? And I don't know, maybe you're not big on Aquinas, but Deonte,
What?
the Deonte argument from Aquinas.
Deonte? No.
I'll probably, it's rough, but it's pretty much, he says, if you have like pretty much a being that could be contingent, if you have a being that by definition doesn't have to exist, it has an essence or a concept.
Yeah, we did. I just call that argument from contingency.
Okay, yeah, and then he says something has to grant it existence.
It has to be something necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you would have like a phoenix. You can understand the concept and the essence, so you need something to, obviously give existence to like, human that.
Deante. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Deante, yeah, I don't know. I may have butchered that. But
Sorry, you said deonte, and for some reason I thought you were like shortening the word deontological or something, and I was just like, I don't know what that means.
no, yeah. No, that was my fault then. I wasn't trying to do that. And then my second question was, do you have a good analogy for the Trinity? I know that probably isn't a perfect one because it's kind of hard, but just curious what your analogy is for that.
I mean, the best analogy that like I know is the one from the Cappadocian Fathers, like with the Council of Constantinople one, around the time of like 381 AD, where they basically made the argument from the sun, right? The sun, ball in the sky, sun. And basically that the Father would be considered the core or the actual ball of the sun itself. The light that resonates from it is the Son of God, and then the heat that comes from that sun would be the Holy Spirit.
Does that? I haven't thought about that one as much. I've heard it, but I haven't thought about it. Does that not run into like a modal collapse, like water and ice and gas?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't fall into like modalism, like the water and ice analogy does. It's the best one, but it obviously still isn't perfect.
Right.
It's any kind of attribution to the created order is not going to be great, no matter what. But that is the best one in terms of people being able to understand it, and also falling into the least amount of explaining away heresies.
Bryce, have you seen what St. Gregory the Theologian says about that analogy?
No.
Oh,
Pretty sure he also doesn't he use it for essence energy distinction too?
No, he rejects that analogy like wholeheartedly.
The analogy?
Yeah, the sun analogy, like very much.
Oh, I haven't read his rejection of it, so.
I think his oration on the Holy Spirit.
Say again?
His oration on the Holy Spirit, he basically posits that it would make God composite.
Well, I mean, yeah, if it actually determined his ontology, sure.
Yeah, but Gregory's infallible, so I reject the analogy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I heard one, but I didn't like it. It was pretty much like a chord. It was like a musical chord, like guitar string. If you had like three notes that make up a chord, that's kind of how it is. But I thought that was kind of I feel like you could tear that one apart.
Yeah, it sounds like partialism.
Yeah.
Because the chord is not complete without the three, but the three of them can individually be played.
Exactly, and they wouldn't be each a chord on their own.
Yeah, so that would.
I think the psychic analogy from Augustine, De Trinitate, Book 9, is probably the best.
I don't think I've heard that one.
The psychological analogy of Augustine is really good. You want to explain that one, Abdul?
It's Abdul's fault. Yes, it is. I hate you, Dion. Yeah, the psychological analogy would be that the Father is the mind, and then the mind. So think about like, I don't know, the mind wanting to know itself perfectly or wanting to know itself begets a knowledge that perfectly reflects itself. And by this knowledge, because there's this natural inclination towards this knowledge that it wants to know, love proceeds from it and rests in the mind. I mean, in the knowledge. So the knowledge is obviously the Son, who is the perfect reflection of the Father, and the love that the Father has for this knowledge is the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, who rests in the Son, as St. John Damascus does. But these are still one nature because they're still appearing in the mind. Bro said that's pretty much filioque. Yeah, sure. The procession is only from the mind alone, but the knowledge is the reason you could say that the love is caused. And for any Latin that's saying this is filioque, thank you for confirming that Saint Gregory Palamas believes in the filioque, because he uses this in his 150 chapters, chapter 36 to 37.
Okay, so Father is the mind, Holy Spirit is love, and you said Jesus is knowledge.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, cool. And then, real quick before I leave, last thing I want to say, I appreciate y'all, Orthodox. I'm Catholic, so don't hold that against me. But I'll concede. I'll give you a concession for your live and say like I'll concede the filioque. I got no problem with through the Son.
Wait, say again?
I said I'll concede the filioque. I got no problem with Father through the Son, from the Father and the Son.
You have no problem with saying that it only comes from the Father? I'm confused.
No, isn't that the beef with the filioque? Is it was originally Father through the Son, and then or was it the whole line was added?
No, like we don't believe that through the Son denotes like the existence of the Holy Spirit. That's kind of like the whole argument at hand is that like when the Father's denote through the Son, that it's not something that denotes like the way the Holy Spirit exists.
Wait, what do you mean by denote there?
Yeah, like it doesn't pick out like the mode of existence of the Holy Spirit.
It doesn't pick out the mode of existence.
Yeah, it picks out the manifestation of the Spirit. The way in which he's provided.
So, all right. So from the Orthodox perspective, how would you approach the filioque then?
We would
You say,
say that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father alone as cause.
okay. You wouldn't even say through the Son.
No.
Okay. Because you think if you were to say that, it would bring like two divine principles or something like that.
That's usually what the argument we have it is. Yeah, there's a couple different arguments that exist for it, like that the Holy Spirit would be composite, like principium quads, or there's just a bunch of different ones that exist.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's something I'll have to look into more then. I didn't know that. Cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna bring Dion up here, and then I'm gonna review this 10-minute thing that I wanted to look at.
What are you looking at?
Well, apostate prophet went against Jake the Muslim metaphysician, but they argued about like the Trinity, and I gotta see how apostate prophet argues for the Trinity. I haven't seen that.
Because isn't he EO?
I don't know if I'd say that. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what he is anymore.
Well, iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah, man. I don't know like truly like where he aligns right now, because like he also does the Zionism thing, and he knows that Orthodoxy doesn't support Zionism, so I don't know what he is.
Yeah. Bryce, I wanted to ask you real quick and everything, then I'll let you do your thing. I wanted to ask you for your prayers because you're like, the head or Eastern Orthodox honcho on TikTok. You kind of just, everyone else is like your pawns and you just pawn them around.
Damn.
Yeah, sure.
I needed to ask you because these Mohammedans, right, they threatened to dox me because they were talking crazy about Rebecca. They were also talking crazy about my own biological mother. And, excuse me, the reason why they want to dox me is because I said, yeah, fuck that bitch ass nigga Muhammad, right?
Damn.
And now they want to dox me, right?
All right, yeah. Come back up real quick though. I don't want to catch a ban for
Leon,
that.
what the hell?
Right, but pray for me, bro, please,
Sure
Pray
thing,
for me.
bro. Sure thing, bro. I will.
Thank you. Yeah, because it's not easy. And look, bro, like respectfully, like what I said is like very light to what Jesus is gonna do to him in hell. Very light work. What I did, very light.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
It's like a toothpick. You know, it's like me taking a toothpick and poking you. That's what I did. So,
Okay, thank you.
you know, pray for me.
Brother,
Yo,
thank you.
Raheem, real quick. Raheem, I'm not about to cry. I'm not a minor like Aisha getting raped. So, no, I'm not going to cry. Get out of here, dingus. Anyways, brother, thank you. Pray for me. God bless you. I guess God bless Abdul, whatever. By predication.
Yes.
By predication, because Bryce J is here, you know? God bless.
That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense.
Holy moly.
Yep. This that John Beckles nonsense right there. That's what happens, man.
The Beckonites are at it again, bro.
When Beckles infiltrates your church, you start acting like this, man. Calling people the N-words just for breathing.
All right, let's take a look at this.
Vaughn, by what relation do you count gods in the Trinity?
Here we go.
Excuse me again.
By what relation do you count gods in the Trinity?
By what relation do I count gods in the Trinity?
Yes. Father's God, Son is God, Holy Spirit's God. They're not the same person. They're distinct from each other. How do they not count as three gods?
Well,
is he looking that shit up as we speak?
This got to be the
question-
stupidest argument ever.
answer to that would be very simple, which would be that you are making a category mistake, a category fallacy, which would be that
Category fallacy.
even if you refer to them as one God and three persons, what you're actually saying is that in essence, God is one, while in hypostasis, in person, they are three.
Okay.
Okay, nice.
Did Jesus
That's pretty good.
possess a genuine human nature?
Yes.
Did he possess the same universal human nature that all other human beings possess?
I'm not entirely sure about that, but I guess yes. Yeah.
Okay. How many human beings are in this room right now?
Probably 70.
Okay,
Bruh.
more than one, right?
What was that, Abdul?
No, it's just a stupid argument because you know he's about to say.
Yeah, he's about to do the ad oblivious argument. He's about to mention St. Gregory of Nyssa. Calling it. He's going to do it. He's going to quote ad oblivious. How much you want to bet?
Yes.
And we have the same human nature?
Yes.
Okay, so by your same reasoning, in which the Trinity, there's only one God because they share the same divine nature, we share the same human nature. How are we not one human?
I'm telling you, Gregory of Nyssa incoming.
And your Turkish saint, Gregory of Nyssa, said that we are.
Read these people like a book. Like a book!
He was Greek, not Turkish. There were no Turks in Anatolia at the time.
Modern day Turkey.
That's not Turkish.
Answer the question.
Sorry, which question? Repeat.
My question is, how do we not count as one human being as Gregory of Nyssa said that we do because we have one human nature?
Time to refute that, because that is a really stupid argument. So, that's in the work on Not Three Gods. And as you can see, right at the very beginning of the work in the third paragraph, he says, the argument which you state is something like this. Peter, James, and John, I hate how much I know this work, but I've had to read it so many times, like, to the degree of, like, refuting people that misquote it, that it just makes me upset. But Peter, James, and John, being one human nature, are called three men. And there is no absurdity in describing those who are united to nature. If there are more than one, if the plural number or the name derived from their nature. If then, in the above case, custom admits this, and no one forbids us to speak who are two as two, or to those who as two as three, how is it the case that the statements of the mysteries of faith, though confessing the three persons and acknowledging no difference in nature between them, are we in some sense at variance with our confession when we say that the Godhead of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit is one, yet forbid men to say these are three gods? Right? And so this is a reductio, in case people don't know that. He says this right in the beginning because there are people, especially around his time, that utilized the argument of, oh, well, they're one because they're one nature. And that's it. And they would just say that. That was just the common apologetic. St. Gregory of Nyssa actually uses this, in a sense, as a reductio, saying, but we don't need to do that. Because obviously it would lead to, by itself, lead to us saying, oh, well, why would we not just say, oh, there's one person or one human, right? One humanity or something like that, right? Then when he says this, right after he makes this argument, he then starts talking about how God is one act. God is one in operation, one in energy. We are not. So he's saying that on its own, saying one nature is not going to get you very far. As you actually get into, for example, being one nature and then saying that there's natural operations that come from that nature, if the three persons of the Trinity share that one singular act, then therefore they would be one God. The persons do not share the same identical energy. Therefore, they are not one human. That's the reason why he makes the argument right at the beginning. This is a common thing that Muslims will do, where they'll quote this. And they'll say, well, why? Well, then you could just say that there's one human. No, because he literally, if you just read the rest of the work, he simply just states that the operation, right? For this reason, the name derived from the operation is not divided with regard to the number of those who fulfill it, because the action of each concerning anything is not separate and peculiar, but what comes to pass in reference to the acts of his providence for us, or to the government and constitution of the universe, comes to pass in the action of the three. Yet what does not come to pass is not three things. And then he explains that there's one singular act in the Trinity. That's all he's doing in this work. So I just want to let you guys know that this argument that he's trying to make is really dumb.
And if Bryce, if you don't want to, it's fine. St. Gregory the Theologian, in his 31st oration, paragraph 15, does say the reason why human nature really doesn't fall under one nature as the divinity does is because it's a universal, and the divinity does not fall under a universal. So, yeah.
You said 15?
Yeah, I know that, man. Come on, man. It's Gregory.
No, you said chapter 15 of Oration
31. Yeah, chapter 15. Yeah, I'm
right
saying
here.
I know it because it's Gregory.
Yeah. Yeah, what of that will they say perhaps? Do not the Greeks also believe in one Godhead, as our more advanced philosophers declare? And with us humanity as one, namely the entire race, but yet they have many gods, not one, just as there are many men. But in the case of the common nature has a unity which is conceivable in thought, and the individuals are parted from one another very far indeed, both by time and by dispositions and by power.
Gregory the Theologian.
For we are not only compound beings, but also contrasted beings, both with one another and with ourselves, nor do we to remain entirely the same for a single day, to say nothing a whole lifetime, but both in body and soul are in a perpetual state of flow and change. And perhaps the same would be said of the angels and the whole of that superior nature, which is the second to the Trinity alone, although they are simple in some measure and more fixed in good, owing their nearness to the highest good. W. St. Gregory Nazianzen.
Well, I cannot really speak to what St. Gregory of Nyssa said, but I'm not entirely sure how that follows from the question you just asked and the answer that I just gave.
I mean, on its surface, that would follow. So, I mean, I'm just being honest. That's why it's good to actually explain that when we say the Father possesses the divine nature, Son possesses the divine nature, that then we can then talk about the operations or the powers that are attributed to this. And that's how we can determine that God is one. Not just on the fact that they just possess the nature and that's it. Right? That's the whole point of St. Gregory of Nyssa's argument.
If Jesus has a human nature, how do we not... I mean, Jesus had a human nature and a divine nature. He was fully man and fully human, fully man and fully God. That's what we believe. While at the same time, he is part of the Trinity,
part of the Trinity,
one essence that is God in three persons. I'm not entirely sure where you're getting at with this.
What I'm getting at...
I can't comment on what St. Gregory...
Don't say part of the Trinity. I'm surprised that Jake didn't immediately hone in on that, but don't say that.
Nyssa specifically said I can only comment on what I believe and what I'm taught.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is that the human beings possess the same nature.
You know, I'm surprised with how rhetorical Jake the Muslim metaphysician is that he didn't immediately hone in on the fact that he said part. Good
what
on
is
good on
just
him.
what is just shown by the dishonesty from people like him is that he's got the response of this multiple times, but he likes to
Well, he
go
thinks
at
he's
people
never
that
gotten a
know.
sufficient answer.
Yeah, like people he knows don't understand this philosophical terms, and because there's a difference between a universal and particular nature. But to each his own.
Nature, and yet we count them.
He probably doesn't even mean universal in particular the same way that you would either. That's the funny part. Like he probably doesn't even actually mean it the same way.
As more than one human being, we don't count them as only one human being. So by the same logic and the same reasoning, even though in the Trinitarian conception of the God, they have the same nature or essence, we should still count them as three gods.
Is he like researching like what's being discussed right now, like live? Like I don't like he's like actively on his phone. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing.
Gods and not
But it just looks bad like on the surface,
one.
I think.
Where am I going wrong?
I really don't get the question. I think you're making a typical category mistake here. We have clearly defined, we have clearly explained that in the Trinity, you have, for example, repeated this earlier. You said that Christianity teaches, or Christians say today, that the Father is the Son, but the Father is also not the Son.
I never said that.
It's a category.
I never said that.
Isn't that what you just said?
I never said that.
Isn't that what you said in your
No,
report?
I never said that.
Okay, can you clarify that?
I said the exact opposite. I said Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are each God, and they're not each other, meaning they're not the same individual, and yet you count
they
them.
Are God.
You yet
You
count them as one God. Why do you count them as one God? Because they have the same essence. Why do we count human beings as more than one human being, even though they have the same human essence? You are not actually showing where the difference lies.
Okay, you're supposed to ask questions, not preach here. So you asked me a question. You asked me the question. So I explained to you my perspective and my understanding of it, which is that God is one in essence. This is what we are taught, and God is also at the same time three persons. That is what we are taught.
Yeah, but sadly, AP, that's not responding to Jake's critique. Jake's critique is simply saying, okay, but human beings are one in essence. So then if that's the case, then why don't we all say that we're all one human? He's using the reductio from St. Gregory of Nyssa. You have to actually, like, you have to know that work to understand the whole point as to why Gregory is making that argument in the first place. Otherwise, it's obviously just it's not gonna be easy to answer, especially if you don't know the differences between, like, universal, particulars, all that kind of stuff.
If you want to question this further or want me to comment on what St. Gregory of Nyssa said, I'm not sure what exactly to tell you about that. I already answered your question.
Okay, do you believe that God can be caused to exist or dependent?
God, in essence.
What did he say?
Exactly to tell you about that. I already answered.
Okay, do you believe that God can be caused to exist or dependent?
God,
yeah,
in essence, no.
So God, can you be God?
That was not a bad answer.
It wasn't.
That was a good response to that.
You know, you brought somebody up, right?
Oh, sorry, I've been watching the thing. What's up, Nolan?
What's happening, man?
Nothing much, bro. What's up?
I don't have. I forget a prompt over here. Can you prove three gods? I wouldn't try to prove that, but I'm a Presbyterian. I do have an argument against the concept of synergism that I think is. I'd love to get your thoughts on.
Sure.
Yeah. So, one second. Where are we? Yeah. So either God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded in his own will and decree, which would be monergism, or God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded in the creature's will or some other aspect of creation. This would be the sort of synergistic free will in terms of the question of why does a man participate. The problem with that latter would be that it violates divine aseity via explanatory dependence.
I mean, our view of like why the synergy applies is due to this thing called the divine logi. Do you know what that is?
Yes, these principles of sort of like, if I were to put it in, you can kind of
The
think of it in
principle,
times
the
of it's like
principles of
platonic,
purpose of all things with nature.
right? And we all have a logoi, right?
Yes, things in which we're intended to be.
Right. That doesn't actually do anything to logically ground the participation or lack thereof.
Well, I mean, like if I were to admit that there's logi that's within us, that is basically the intended purpose for the way in which we're supposed to actualize our life. That if we have the ability to, for example, not follow that, then that would obviously show that synergism would have to be necessary in order to follow that.
So would that then therefore be an affirmation of the former, that it is logically grounded, perhaps not in his own will or decree, but some aspect of God, like logoi, logos.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Like if it is the providentially ordained purpose of a man, his logoi, would you be affirming that the first premise that God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded, not in his own will and decree, but at least in some other aspect of God and his providential working?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that his foreknowledge is automatically just grounded in his will and decree. No,
Not, let's say, not his will and decree, but what then? Logically grounded in what?
Well, I mean, like there would be a difference between like the intention for which he wishes for something to be, but will not force something to be, right? Versus the will and decree of the things that must happen and will happen.
Okay, in the latter, what would be the position concerning the latter? Can you explicate that?
Well, I mean, he'll decree, like he obviously decrees the ones who are saved and which ones are not saved, but this thing is based off of the fact that he understands the synergy of the human beings and the way in which that they actually purport to their logi.
Okay, so looking down the annals of history and knowing, that whether or not there's a participation with their logoi, and that is that explains the decree, or the decree explains that?
I mean, I would well, if it's a synergy, then it's something that would kind of be simultaneous with both. It wouldn't necessarily be like one of them wouldn't be considered logically prior on its own.
Yeah, but synergy is more or less it's
participation of our will basically trying to align with God's will.
Right. And I would never accuse EO of like semi-Pelagianism, but as far as what God's grace does, in your view, if I understand correctly, it enables the person to participate, to be in alignment with his logoi or what have you, or not. The question still concerns what logically grounds God's knowledge of future human choices.
I mean, you keep saying logically grounds. Like, what do you take that to be?
Yes, it's I can phrase it in terms of like an explanation of why, whereas I think that God's grace enabling all men to participate or not would be sort of an ontological grounding, how a person may participate, but it doesn't explain why a person participates or does not. Typically, from my understanding, the answer to the question of why would be some version of free will.
Okay. So I mean, obviously, like in our metaphysics, I don't know if you agree with this, but like will is something that is proper to nature in our view. So do you agree with that?
Will is proper to nature, sure.
Okay. And then the mode of willing is something that's proper to hypostasis or person?
The mode of willing, yeah. I mean, what do you take, just so that we're clear, what do you take the mode of willing to be? What is a will? How would you define will?
Will is just like the intention of action, I guess.
Would you agree that it would be something like the capacity to choose according to one's nature?
Yeah, that's what St. John of Damascus says.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So I guess go on.
Okay.
There's three distinguishing factors of will. There's the will, which what you said, the mode of will or the willer, which is the individual that acts out the will, and the object of will, which is the thing that the individual wants itself. That's just the three distinction that St. John Damascus and St. Maximus the Confessor makes of what will and the fullness of it picks out.
Yeah.
This is in the case of creature stuff.
Another sort of word, like typically a word used for the willer would be agent, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think we're clear on that. But can you index that to the horn?
Index it to the what?
To the two horns. Like how does this agreed upon definition or concepts like help illustrate or define whether, like, what logically grounds God's knowledge of future human choices?
Well, I mean, when I asked you to define like logical grounding in the first place, like I didn't really grasp too well like what you were trying to use as an example. So that's why like I tried to give you my understanding of like just willing in general from nature to see maybe if that would carry the conversation forward. But if you want to try to give me a different example of what you mean by like logically grounding in that sense, I'm just...
Can I answer the question
like
really
a
quick?
non-causal dependence. Sorry, go ahead.
I was asking really quick on time in the gym. Read premise 1 again.
Sure. God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded in his own will and decree, or in some aspect, I guess we can broaden this, some aspect of, I guess in the EO could be his essence or energies or logos, ultimately creator and not creation. Whichever way you cut that, that statement would imply monergism.
Yeah, what's the argument for that? That's the issue. You're assuming monergism. My previous contention in the comments was that well, you read something a bit more exhaustive in your first premise, I believe. But yeah, here's this. What's the argument that God's being is grounded in his essence? How does that preclude synergism? How does that necessarily entail monergism? You have to make an argument for premise 1.
I'm sorry. Can you reword your question?
Yeah, you said the entailment is monergism. I'm saying, what's the argument that the first premise precludes, or God's knowledge being grounded or being a faculty of his nature precludes synergism? That's just the assumption baked into the first premise. You have to make an argument for that.
You said faculty of his nature.
You guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
Faculty. Yeah, faculty. Faculty. Just a property. Sure. I'm saying, what's the argument that it's that it precludes synergism? You're just assuming that it precludes synergism, that it necessarily entails monergism. You have to make an argument for that.
Sure, I guess. So monergism is I guess in salvation relevant acts, God alone is the sufficient ground. I'm just defining monergism. Like I would have to answer your question, I would have to define monergism as distinct from synergism, and maybe you can agree on that and then move forward.
Right, but the definition of terms here wouldn't get you to the point where you're trying to make is that in your first premise that it assumes that the position that nature is a faculty of will is a faculty of nature necessarily precludes synergism.
Will is a
necessarily
faculty
entails monergism.
Yeah, it's not about a faculty.
When I say faculty, I'm just using the words in your first premise synonymously. That is to say that it's a property, it's a faculty of nature.
Yeah, but that isn't. That actually isn't the premise, though. That isn't what I'm getting at. The premise is God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded in his will and decree. That is to
if I
say, hold on,
that's synonymous. I'm saying the same thing here.
no, I mean, something could be a faculty of your nature, not therefore be a logical explanation or an explanation why such a thing is.
Either way, if it's a logical grounding, you see that's a complete non sequitur, because it doesn't make the case that it necessarily entails monergism and precludes synergism. You have to make cases for both of those.
Yeah, okay, so what do you think I mean by, what do you think I mean by logically grounding?
A ground given an account from an epistemic point, but you'd have to make the argument why that
Not a
will being a logically ground. What?
Not necessarily an epistemic.
Epistemic or metaphysical, or if you're just speaking about modality here, either way, the
That is
point
modality.
is, okay, the point is you have to make the argument for why a metaphysical grounding of the will be in his essence necessarily precludes synergism and entails monergism.
The metaphysical grounding of his will being in his essence. You're
You said
using
logical grounding. Wait, you said logical grounding earlier, and that's why I used the word epistemic.
I mean, the modality here is logic, not epistemic.
Well, either way, yeah, I guess so. Either way, but the point stands.
To be honest with you, I'm not following. Please, yes, hold on one sec. Try, for my own clarity, maybe I'm slow. Can you index your rearticulation of my first premise to what I'm about to say in its specificity? God's knowledge of future human choices is explained by, logically grounded in, or explained by his own will and decree.
Yes. Now, with that being said, you then go on to say that it necessarily entails monergism and precludes synergism. The issue is you have to make an argument for that within your first premise.
Yeah, gotcha.
Does the overall argument either collapse everything either into monergism or the accusation of semi-Pelagianism? Is that what you're doing?
No, not semi-Pelagianism, but a violation of divine aseity by making God logically dependent on something external to himself.
The content of God's knowledge. I mean, if we're talking, yeah. So if we're talking about, hold on, does God necessarily possess the knowledge of contingent things?
Does God necessarily possess the knowledge?
So I'll give you. So you ever heard of the aloneness argument?
Hit me.
All right. So does God possess knowledge of contingent things?
Yes.
Okay. Does he also have knowledge of all things that could have been?
Yes. Okay. Now I'm starting to understand what you're saying. Yes, I would. The answer to your question, God necessarily possesses knowledge of contingent things. Yes.
Okay. So, if, for example, God chose, yes, if God chose not to create at all, if he was alone, do you believe that is that possible?
Yeah. I mean, he's not contingent on his creation.
Okay. But the knowledge of, for example, a creation is something that's still contained in God, even though that there's nothing other than him that exists?
Yeah, the knowledge of said contingent things would be grounded in ad intra.
The knowledge of contingent things would be grounded ad intra.
Yes, grounded in his own decree.
His decree, it wouldn't, not the same thing as decree. Because there's a difference between God knowing all possible worlds versus what God decrees. Because if God decrees creation to exist, then obviously, right, then obviously creation would exist. If God decreed, for example, for creation not to exist, would he still possess the knowledge of the things in which he did not, decree?
Man, I'm getting tripped up. Can you restate that question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So if God chose to create, right, you'd say he decreed to create. Okay. If God chose not to create, you'd say that he decreed to not create. Does God still possess knowledge of the contingent things or of contingent things that he chose not to create? Either one, you have to say that he does possess this knowledge, but if you say it's ad intra, then you're saying that there's a contingency ad intra to God. Or two, you have to say that then God does not possess this knowledge, which then you'd have to say that God's knowledge, the content of knowledge changes.
I don't see any issue with saying that God would still possess knowledge of the things he did not create, but that knowledge would be of a different logical kind than his knowledge of actual things.
Yeah, the problem though is the grounding of that knowledge in the first place. The grounding of that knowledge, for example, of contingent things is based off of the fact that the contingent thing exists. That doesn't.
No.
Yes, because if
No,
you
because
because
actual,
if no, hold on.
Go ahead.
Because if something is contingent in of itself, and I mean, you affirm divine simplicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in divine simplicity, right, is God's knowledge identical to his essence?
Yes.
Okay, so then when you say that God possesses contingent knowledge, this is proper to the fact that there is contingent things, not proper to God. Because if it's proper to God, it's identical to his essence.
No, this is asserting sort of a modal collapse.
So the aloneness argument is a form of modal collapse based off of the way that you're positing how knowledge works in God.
This is what happens when we have second actuality in your paradigm.
Yeah, so
basically you either have to affirm a form of necessitarianism or something like that, which I don't think you do that.
No, I think there's just a clear distinction that we need to identify between the necessity of the act and the necessity of the object. So, or I think said a different way, what is it? Necessity of the consequence. Hold on, I have this pulled up in notes.
Well, let me ask you this: is the content of knowledge, is the content of the intellect identical to the essence?
One second, I'm pulling this up.
What's going on?
Yeah, so like the necessity of the consequent versus the necessity of the consequence.
Right. Well, question: would you say that the content of the intellect is identical to the essence?
The content of the intellect. I mean, if we're talking ad intra, yeah.
Right. Is the content of the intellect unactualized?
God is pure act.
Well, how can you have contingent? How can you have contingent knowledge ad intra if you affirm pure actus purus?
The knowledge isn't contingent. It is knowledge of contingent things. It's a distinction.
Well, then the content is necessary if it's grounded in the knowledge in the intellect.
You said the knowledge of contingent things is contingent, right?
No, I didn't say. I said.
Is that not what you just said?
His knowledge is not contingent. His like on the things. His knowledge concerns contingent things. Those are two different things.
Okay, let me put it like this.
Sounds pretty vacuous.
Let me put it like this.
Yeah, so what he decrees are what he has decreed are things contingent, and his knowledge is grounded in that decree. So his knowledge isn't of. Go ahead.
Let me put it like this. All right, you don't believe that there's any composition in God, right?
Correct.
So everything that's intrinsic to God is identical to God.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't have accidents either, right?
Yeah, no accident.
Okay. But you also believe that God is free to create or to not create, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There is a possible world then where God is alone without any creation.
Possible world. I don't know about that. Is there a possible world where
possible world? It's just modal. It's just modal logic. It's just saying that like it's possible that God would have chosen not to create. And there's a possible world where he didn't.
Yeah, God is free to create or not create. There is a possible world in which God, exists without any creation.
Yes. Okay. So if God exists alone, then all of God's knowledge must be intrinsic, since there is nothing else to know extrinsically. Do you agree with that?
Again?
If God exists alone, then all of God's knowledge must be intrinsic, since there is nothing else to know extrinsically.
all of his knowledge is intrinsic. I mean,
Okay.
what concerns the object of that knowledge? Yes.
Okay. So in such a world, then God's knowledge of
There's
creation,
no,
if he had created, would have been different. So then God's knowledge is contingent.
to say something is contingent in oneself is no issue, because again, God is that this is divine simplicity. The issue is whether or not God is the grounding for God's knowledge is contingent on something external to God, which in this situation that you just posited would not be
whether or not
relevant.
he created. So the knowledge of, for example, creation would be different based off of the fact that he chose to create versus when he didn't create.
Sure, it's a empty statement to say that his knowledge is contingent on his decree or lack thereof. That is ultimately the thing that I'm affirming.
Say that again.
It's an empty statement to say that God's knowledge would be contingent on his decree or lack thereof. That's ultimately the thing that I am affirming. Given divine simplicity, there is no issue here.
But I'm saying, go ahead. Go ahead. What'd you say?
You're using contingency as dependency, which is not how Bryce is using contingency.
Okay,
contingency
so then,
is that it could have failed to happen or failed to exist.
It could have failed to exist.
Yeah, for example, God knowing he created. If everything is intrinsic to God in that case, and therefore that would be something intrinsic to himself.
I'd have to think about it. So the contention that you're saying is that it is God's knowledge being logically grounded in his own decree. Does that mean you're implying that would make God's knowledge contingent on his decree?
No, I'm saying that there are some things that God knows extrinsically, or God knows things that are contingent, right? So like he knows things in terms of the fact that there is knowledge that God possesses that is extrinsic to God himself, right? Like, for example,
the issue isn't whether or not the objects of his knowledge are,
because this all ties back to the soteriology conversation that we're having.
Yeah, but really quick, the issue isn't whether or not the objects of said knowledge are contingent in themselves. The question is what logically grounds that knowledge. Is the knowledge contingent in itself? Just because you have knowledge of contingent objects and there's a reality in which those objects don't occur does not therefore imply that there is any contingency in God's knowledge external to himself.
Okay. This is kind of like just doing this. So let me just try to do this then. You're a full-fledged monergist when it comes to grace, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, for example, if do human beings have the ability to reject, for example, God's grace in any way?
Have the ability to reject it? I mean, I'll give you specific answers to your questions. We all resist God's grace. It is a different matter as to whether or not said grace being given is effective or effectual.
Okay. So does God decree then like who it's effectual towards, or what?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So there are people that God created specifically for the purpose of not having effectual grace?
For the purpose wouldn't be characterized in that, wouldn't have that sort of characterization. Like for the purpose of not having effectual grace, there would be different purpose indexed to that.
So, for example, like what would be the purpose of this goes back to the Logi thing. What would be the purpose of creating somebody, for example, that
to be damned?
To be damned.
Yeah, I would answer that by way of, I mean, you just gave me the sort of anticipated objection of Paul, Romans 9, so I would answer it in that way. That God wanting to demonstrate his wrath, to make his power known, endured with much patience vessels of wrath, having been prepared for destruction, in order that he might make known the riches of his glory upon vessels of mercy, which he prepared beforehand for glory. In other words, the glory bestowed upon God rightly by those he has saved by grace was magnified by a knowledge of what they deserved in terms of the wrath that they were spared from.
Okay. And you'd say that the way that you're interpreting Romans 9 works with Philippians 2 verses 12 through 13?
Let me pull that up. Philippians 2, 12 through 13. So then, my beloved, just as you have always obeyed, not as in my,
Hold on one
in
second.
my, is that the right verse?
Did I not freaking, sorry, it's been a while since I've quoted it. Give me a minute. I might have quoted like a verse off or something. No, Philippians 2 verses 12 through 13.
Yeah. I have the LSB. So then, my beloved, just as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your salvation with fear and trembling.
And then verse 13, for it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose.
Yeah, for it is God who is at work in you both to will and to work for his good pleasure.
Okay. So monergism in of itself is that there's one singular energy that's working. There's one singular will that's working. And here it's saying that God works in you to will. Implying that we are still utilizing our own will, which is a synergistic understanding rather than a monergistic understanding.
No. So monergism would be specifically as it pertains to the argument concerns the logical explanation or grounding for all that comes to pass, or sufficient, sort of the sufficient cause of all that comes to pass. That is not, that doesn't preclude, that is distinct from efficient causation. And to be more specific, that doesn't preclude moral agency or moral will as a subset of your natural will. So we more, the Reformed certainly affirm the synergism with respect to a type of synergism with respect to sanctification and our cooperation. Yeah. So
we do have to cooperate.
There is a compatibilism with respect to our sanctification. We're called to work out our salvation with fear and trembling.
Okay. Do people that are elect have the ability to not work out their salvation with fear and trembling?
Do people who are elect what?
Do people that are elect have the ability to not work out their salvation with fear and trembling?
When you say have the ability,
is their desire capable? Are they capable
that.
of desire? Are they capable of desiring, for example, not working out their salvation? Like, for example, because you know how you'd say that faith obviously shows works, right? Works don't save, but faith saves. But faith brings works.
Yeah, it's a faith that works. Yeah.
Yeah. But then faith without works is dead. So then, if somebody, for example, doesn't perform works, do they have faith?
No.
Okay. So then the things that you're doing as works, right? Is that something that you're capable of not doing as an elect?
I think if I understand the way that you're intending the question, no, I would say the elect cannot ultimately fail. They may struggle or doubt or fear, but God's decree ensures their salvation will be worked out.
Okay. I'm trying to understand your position before I continue with what you were saying. So go back to what you were trying to bring regarding the monergism thing, where you said it collapses into monergism or whatever.
Collapses
I'm trying
into
to
what?
understand your argument.
I mean, yeah, I mean, just when I say,
We'll do this for like probably 5-10 more minutes, and then I want to continue with my reaction thing, but we'll keep talking.
sure,
Go ahead.
sure. When I say monergism, in with respect to this argument, I would say that it is such that would be in contrary to what I understand to be the position of synergism in the EO tradition. I think perhaps the Roman Catholic tradition. That is, when we say that future human choices, what logically grounds it, when people posit free will, that is ultimately what they are saying is their will logically grounds their choices, and that would be some sense of synergism. That would be synergism. Monergism would say that these are future human choices. Our choices are logically grounded in God's will and decree.
Okay. And so then the critique against the synergistic position of what you just said is then what?
Yeah, that if you affirm man's choices are logically grounded in his own will, that would imply that God, a violation of divine aseity via explanatory dependence.
Explanatory dependence for what?
God's knowledge is explanatorily. Wow. It has an explanatory dependence on human will.
Yeah, we have no issue with saying that, like, for example, God possesses knowledge of things, of contingent choices. That was the whole reason why I brought up the aloneness argument. It doesn't
Yeah,
doesn't
but
that
the
doesn't
alone.
like
I thought
disregard
we
divine
addressed
simplicity.
how the aloneness argument is confused in the sense that it confuses knowledge of contingent things with contingent knowledge.
Yeah, but you're saying that, like, the logical grounding, for example, for God's decree or something, or what is it?
I guess if you're affirming the latter, which is God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded in the creature's will, that is basically saying that his knowledge has an explanatory dependence on creaturely will. And
I mean,
when you say
in
that
the actual world,
to have an explanatory dependence external to God would be to make God, that would be to violate aseity.
I don't
Makes
see
God
how
contingent.
I don't see how that would follow.
That's a non sequitur.
To have an explanatory dependence.
Yeah, I don't see how it would follow
that
it would violate that.
To have an explanatory dependence implies contingent.
Yeah, so God possesses contingent knowledge, sure.
Yeah, so if that knowledge is contingent, then that even you or even EO, I understand, if I take to mean, or I take I think that you guys believe some aspect of divine simplicity, knowledge being an aspect of that. To have contingent knowledge is to say God is contingent.
That's the entire thing I just brought to you with the aloneness argument. That if you believe that, like, everything, because first off, we also have a distinction in our view between essence and energy.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, then it wouldn't obviously conclude that God intrinsically then is contingent.
Are you saying that God's knowledge on the EO view is something to be located within his energies and not his essence?
Correct.
You understand we make the difference between
God
first
is
and
God.
second actuality, right?
If God is pure act, right? If God is pure act, then the knowledge is an actuality. So it's an act.
Interesting. So knowledge is grounded, learning something new. And energy is not essence. And I mean, I've still been studying. Like, I just read through the triads, but I'm not a neo-theologian or anything like that. But would you say, is it the EO position that the energies are necessary or not contingent? Are the energies, can the energy be said to be contingent?
The energies themselves are necessary, but the way in which the energies manifest are not.
The energies themselves, but the way that manifest, can you disambiguate that?
This is in the triads, by the way.
Yeah, I committed the whole thing to memory.
Yeah, so the actual possession of, for example, knowledge in of itself as an energy is something that is absolutely necessary, but the content of that knowledge, based off of the way in which God chooses to create, that in of itself is not by itself necessary.
So you're making the distinction between capacity to know and what is known?
Not exactly, because there's a difference between like what is known, like there's a difference between what is known and then what is intended to be, right? Based off of what is known. There's also a distinction there, like a knower knowing what is known, right? And then the intention of that knowledge, how it will be actualized or manifested into creation. And because we have these distinctions that exist in this, even if we were to say that, for example, the relation is something that's grounded in the human will, that kind of leads back to the logi thing, like I was talking about earlier, right? Which is that God has intention for everybody to be in a certain state, which in our view we would say God has the intention for everybody to be saved, and God created us for the purpose of being saved, but God gave us the ability to not actualize that, to basically remain in potency in terms of salvation.
Also,
but the
we
intention
have
is for us to have it actualized.
Yeah, we also have this distinction in terms
the
of
actual-
predestination. In terms of predestination, that we're all predestined in God, but the manner and way which we participate in God is going to be be determined by how we our disposition towards Him.
Yeah, I mean, even the way that you articulated that, it would be to me is problematic. It would be based upon whether you're grounding that in some volition of man or his desire to participate or
You're going to
will of
participate.
man.
You're going to You didn't hear me. You're going to participate in God regardless. The manner and modality by which you participate in God is on how you actualize your will.
Right.
Yeah, God sustains all things anyway, so God provides grace. So like in our view, like the first grace is God choosing to create us in the first place.
Right, I guess.
That's why semi-Pelagianism doesn't work.
Yeah, because the first intention of salvation
charge
is God
not,
no matter what.
By the way, my charge is not, I would never charge you guys with semi-Pelagianism, if you're hearing me say that. Sure, I guess it's a distinction that without a difference in my view, yes, there's varying degrees of participation. I think I understand the way that you guys view participation as sort of like an epistemic. There's an epistemology
more modal,
there.
but yeah, I mean it's more in terms of modality and how.
Like it would explain,
so like
essentially, if I understand correctly, it would explain how like an atheist would, who might, bring forth some helpful invention. There's some aspect of participation there, even if the mode of that participation is not salvific or I guess whatever mode that you would describe it as. Correct?
Well, the mode of participation is the fact that he has existence and he's being sustained by God regardless. And
Right.
he's actualizing the will that was given by God. And he's a rational agent. And he's creating.
Sorry, one sec. Oh, Andre Lopez, thank you for the $5. He says, "Big W to Bryce, always defending the faith. You've helped me greatly. God bless, man. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you."
Yeah, the fact that he was given he's created, he has a imago Dei. And in doing so, because he has the imago Dei, he has the will. And in doing so, he has the will which he can actualize. Therefore, he's participating in God. Now, the way he actualizes the will in God in terms of following him, that's a different thing as well.
Also, Emmanuel, thank you for the 50 MX. He says, "The goal is contingent on the real presence of our created gratitude." Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. And then Emmanuel for 50 MX as well. Sorry, these things aren't making the noises because it's like a different currency. "You've been schooled by the secret scholar because of your face." Yep, I'm talking about the Sufi dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, Bryce, I won't take up too much of your time, because I know you want to get back to your reaction. But Nolan, you came up on my earlier this afternoon, and I presented
Oh,
you
what's up, dude?
a counter argument as to the dichotomy you were presenting us. And the dichotomy was either God knows X because he decrees it, or he decrees X according to what he knows counterfactually. And you said that God knows X because he decrees it. And the follow-up question to that was, does God's knowledge of counterfactual things come logically prior or posterior to his decree? And you said posterior. Would you still agree to that?
Yeah, so God's knowledge of counterfactuals would be logically posterior to his decree. That is, in terms of ultimate causation, even though from our perspective it is eternal and simultaneous with his decree.
But
yeah,
you said God's knowledge of counterfactuals is logically posterior to his decree. So that means God's knowledge of things that he could have done otherwise comes after he already necessarily decreed his actions.
You're putting in there terms like necessary. I would just simply agree outright with the statement God's knowledge of counterfactuals is logically posterior to his decree, because that is just that's just a reworking of the same sentence that God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded in. Logically posterior, logically grounded. These are synonyms.
No. Logical posteriority would be something coming after in a logical ordering, not prior. The grounding has nothing to do with that. So
to say that it's logically grounded in,
just 1 second. Logic to do with truth, not with grounding. So logic just means like the fact that B happens is true because A happens. It's got nothing to do with like the existence of things.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So what Orthodox is saying, or Orthodox Cross is saying, is like, if like God has a decree, if God decrees you to have like efficacious grace and me to have only sufficient grace, for example, right? Like that's logically posterior to him creating the world as an argument, right? And the truth of that is only because he creates this world, but there's no like grounding relation there.
Right. But you said the knowledge of
I still would affirm that it's posterior.
Okay. So if it's posterior, that means God's knowledge of things that he could do otherwise, insofar as first actuality, comes posterior to what God has already willed from eternity. So that means that God couldn't do otherwise than what he has already willed. So you just denied free will in God.
To say that there's no issue there. To say that God is
no issue with denying free will in God?
No. I'm saying to say that God is limited by his own nature is not a limitation at all. That's like saying that it's the same argument as saying that can God exist and not exist. You can say that's a limitation, but it's just in accordance with his nature.
Does God have knowledge of counterfactuals logically prior to his decree?
Does God have knowledge of counterfactuals logically prior to?
Yeah.
Logically.
You said it was posterior.
Yeah. So?
It does?
No, I said I still hold the same position that it's.
Okay, so God does not have knowledge of counterfactuals prior to his decree.
I said that God's knowledge of counterfactuals is logically posterior to his decree.
Okay, so God decrees X in necessity. So you think that God could not have done otherwise than what he decrees?
Yeah, when God decrees something, it is infallible and necessary.
That's not what he said. He's making the argument that God could not have decreed otherwise.
So you're asking me, does God decree X necessarily?
That's the entailment, because you don't believe God could have done otherwise, because the knowledge of what God could do otherwise comes after he's already decreed this world.
Yeah, I mean, I would also affirm that God decrees X necessarily.
That's necessitarianism, like you said you rejected earlier.
Necessity is rooted in God's will, not coercion. There's a difference between logical and metaphysical necessity. The logical necessity here being X cannot happen because God's eternal decree determines it, whereas metaphysical necessity of creatures. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, you were finishing. Sorry. Go ahead. Nothing was lagging.
Metaphysical necessity of creatures would be such that like their actions remain contingent from their own perspective.
Do you think
They
creatures
could have
are
acted differently according to their own nature, but
Okay, so if I ask it like this, all right, is there a possible world in which God decreed differently?
is there a possible world where
It's just a
God,
it's just a modal statement.
where
Is it
God
possible
did
that
create?
is there a possible world, or is it possible in general that God could have decreed otherwise?
No, I mean, there's no possible world in which God decreed otherwise.
You're a necessitarian.
That's a necessitarian.
God's decree is eternal and necessary.
Yeah,
There's
so
no,
that so so
this
and
doesn't put
God
any
does God's decree contain saving humanity?
Or are you? Is the question? Is there
gonna-
a possible world where God decreed otherwise, or where God could have decreed otherwise?
Is there a possible world where God decrees otherwise?
Okay, so that's a different question. To say, I mean, there is no possible world in which God decreed otherwise, because God.
He's sorry, one sec. He's not talking about like a multiverse. He's not talking about like another universe that actually exists.
That's
right
why
now.
I'm asking this. That's why I'm asking.
That's why I said it was modal.
in-
That's why I said it was like I was using it in the modal sense. I'm not literally saying there's an actual world. I'm saying, is there a possible world in terms of it not being actualized? Like, for example, like I said, like you admitted earlier, that there's a possible world where God chose not to create. So there is a possible world then where God decrees otherwise than what has been decreed now.
God, okay, the way that you're saying like God decrees or God decreed.
Well, God decrees creation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the way that you're arguing right now is making creation necessary. Because unless you say that. Go ahead. I was going to say that God's decree, a lot of that includes to create, to save people, all of that kind of stuff. If I ask if there's a possible world where God chose to decree otherwise, then that would be fine. If you say that there isn't a world where he chose to do otherwise or chose to decree otherwise, then creation is necessary off of that decree.
Again, I think that this is, I keep coming back to this, but this is the difference between the necessity of the consequence and the necessity of the consequent.
Okay.
He didn't shift the modal operator at all. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I get that he didn't, but the implication of there being some issue with like that creation was necessary according to his decree.
Yeah, because if the decree, if the content, if the content of the decree contains creating and saving human beings, and there's no possible world in which he could not decree another way, then therefore the content of God's decree is then therefore necessary.
So I would phrase it like this: God could have. That's why, like, if you're going to use the word "could," I think that would be more apt for the sort of modal questions that you're asking.
So you say there is a possible world then.
So
where he
God
decrees
could
otherwise.
have chosen not to create, like given that he decrees to create, everything within creation follows necessarily from that decree. Do you have an issue with that?
Okay, so then that goes back to Arrow's argument. Now Arrow can
So
say what he was saying.
You have to P and not P because you're saying God could have done otherwise, but the manner in which he could decree otherwise, he does not have knowledge of till after he decrees the world, which he's already brought about.
Because he decrees logically prior to the things in which he knows. So if he decrees prior to that, then he has to possess the knowledge of the other worlds that are possible before he decrees.
So the issue you're saying, there's some issue with God decreeing logically prior to the things he knows?
Yes.
Well, I guess I'm not really seeing the issue.
It leads to necessitarianism, because if he has to decree logically prior to the knowledge that he possesses in the first place, then he could not have decreed otherwise, because he has to possess, because he doesn't have the knowledge logically prior to choosing otherwise. Because then he wouldn't have, logically prior, he wouldn't have the knowledge of another way in which he could decree.
Yeah, so there being
So he has to
some,
decree this world. It has to happen.
well, God's decree could have been otherwise. God's decree is logically first. His
No,
knowledge flows from it.
it can only
That
be
is why.
otherwise. It can only be
I
otherwise.
think I
if
think I know what he's saying. One sec, Nolan. Can I try and stillman you for a sec? Are you saying his knowledge of the contents of the actual world are logically posterior to his decree, rather than like his knowledge of what could have obtained?
I think so. Can you reiterate that?
Okay, so you're saying, like, let's try and make it simple. You're saying in the beginning, God could have known anything, God decrees, and then God, after decreeing, knows the actual contents of this world. So, for example, if God decrees that I'm going to drink a coffee in 10 minutes, he then knows that in this world I drink a coffee in 10 minutes. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
that.
So
Okay,
it's like
but
it's
we're
like
saying,
saying it's like
I don't know if is that really
yeah.
the
So
the
like
classical
step
position
by
though?
step diagram would be like decree knowledge, decree therefore knowledge, therefore counterfactuals, therefore free action.
okay, so now prior to the decree, what's happening in God's mind? Like what's happening in the content of his knowledge?
That is to me a sort of it's an answer, a question that doesn't need to be answered given
So Maximus
that
did a
his
good job of answering it, but go ahead.
yeah, but I mean on divine simplicity there is an eternal decree and it's an eternal knowledge. There might be a logical relation, but this is only from our perspective in the way that we can.
We would say that they're both eternal as well. But if you say that the knowledge that he possesses is logically posterior to the decree in of itself, God must decree prior to knowing the things in which he decrees.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of logical, in terms of a logical flow, yeah.
Yeah. So then in that case, so in that case, God could not have decreed otherwise.
No, why would you say that? How does that follow? God could have decreed otherwise, but that doesn't.
Because God has to know what to decree in the first place if he wanted to decree otherwise.
Wait, what position are you assuming, Nolan?
Presbyterian.
The decree determines his knowledge. Like determines the decree logically grounds the knowledge, not the other way around. He doesn't have to know. Again, we're talking about logical relations ad intra. So it's decree knowledge. There is no issue with the idea of there being with the concept of God could have decreed otherwise. But it starts with decree.
Okay, if there's the concept of God couldn't have decreed otherwise, that like logically follows that like he doesn't have the alternative. Yeah, if you deny that, you deny what's called like the principle of alternative possibilities in God, which means God doesn't have libertarian free, which means he's dependent on something outside of his existence.
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that God, when you're saying could, I wouldn't say that God couldn't decree otherwise. I do believe he could have decreed otherwise. But the knowledge concerning the contingent objects that flow from that decree are grounded in that decree, not in the things themselves.
I'll try it like this, right? So, because you're a Presbyterian, so I'll see if I can like make it more tailored to your theology. Do you hold to supralapsarian or infralapsarian?
I'm like iffy on this. I think I've been leaning more supralapsarian.
Okay. Does God have to have a reason for why he like gives some people efficacious grace versus sufficient grace?
I would say that it doesn't. To ask whether God needs a reason is a nonsensical the question doesn't have any meaning.
He's just asking, does God have a reasoning behind why he would do something?
No, he's not beholden to some reason that would be that he would be appealing to. His decree is said reason. It's sufficient in itself. That is there's no appealing. to a reason.
Okay, so it had to be that way, right?
It's not that his decree had to be that way, because again, that would be restricting God's decree to some necessity external to himself. I wouldn't say that.
Into that like 5 times.
Yeah, because we're
No.
just going like I'm trying to understand like how you're saying there can be like contingent possibilities within God, but then it sort of also sounds like you're saying that he only knows the contents of this actual world, but then there's nothing that grounds these like other possibilities or like contingents. For example, we would say like God eternally foreknows contingent choices of creatures, right? And this is something which can be grounded within like the divine logoi that gets willed into creation, and then posterior to his decree. God also knows our reaction to his grace, and he is the first mover by giving us like uncreated grace, but we can respond to that. With you, it seems like the grace is what's doing all the work here, not just for bringing the creature to God, but also for like who will reject
It's
God.
what's doing all the work.
All the grace is doing not just the first moving, but all of the moving to God, right? So like it's not even taking into account creaturely reactions to his grace, right? It's based on who gets what type of grace.
I think I might. It sounds like I can agree with that. Maybe not exactly as worded, but it isn't. It is God's decree concerns our participation, the story, essentially the story of redemption.
Yo.
And it is good.
Wait, Nolan, I want to ask you, can God decree that which he does not know?
Can God decree that which he does not know? He knows, his knowledge is grounded in his decree. So when you're asking questions like, you're asking, it's sort of a...
That's just the entailment of your position if you're saying it's posterior.
No, it's just, to me, it's like an odd question. I wouldn't say that God can decree.
I mean, regardless if you perceive it as odd, that's just the entailment.
Knowledge and decree are logically inseparable in God. God's knowledge is
again,
perfect
logical
and
grounding has nothing to do with priority or posteriority. Has nothing to do with
that. Wasn't that your question?
No, I said, can God decree that which he does not know?
Yeah, so I would say no. God cannot decree that which he does not know, but because knowledge and decree are logically inseparable in God's knowledge is
inseparability has nothing to do with it.
Well, insofar as God's knowledge is perfect and necessary, he necessarily knows that which he decrees.
Okay, that's fine. Look, you said God cannot decree that which he does not know. But God decreed this possible world prior to him having knowledge of this possible world.
This is why the question is malformed, because God's knowledge is perfect and necessary concerning his decree. There is not a world in which some aspect God cannot decree that which he does not know, which that would imply some aspect of God is not necessary.
So would God's knowledge change then based off of if he decreed differently?
His knowledge is necessarily according to his decree. The knowledge and decree
God's knowledge is necessary.
Inseparable.
God's knowledge is necessary, right?
God's knowledge and decree are both necessary, logically inseparable.
Okay, so God's knowledge is necessary, and his decree is dependent upon his knowledge.
His decree is not dependent. When you say dependent, what do you mean?
His knowledge is grounded within his decree. So if his knowledge of contingent things is necessary, and the decree is necessary, and the decree brings about the knowledge which God necessarily has, then you're saying that God decrees X necessarily, and that's what brings about his knowledge of this event, which means he must decree this thing.
And if you say that he doesn't have to decree that thing, and that there could be a possible world where he decrees otherwise, then therefore the knowledge that pertains to that would then therefore be different. It would not be the same knowledge.
Yeah. So God, I guess, index this to what I'm saying, and maybe so God's eternal decree is necessary in a logical or metaphysical sense. God's knowledge is grounded in his decree. His knowledge is derivative of his decree, not independent of it. So his decree is necessary. His knowledge is also necessary because it perfectly reflects the decree.
So is it this 1 second, Jacobus? Is it the same is it the same mental state prior to God's decree and posterior to God's decree?
So temporal.
We're not talking.
I would reject. Well, you just invoked temporal language.
No, I didn't. We're still speaking
before
about
and after.
I don't know. I don't know if even we would say that God has mental states. If I'm being real.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, like insofar as you're saying mental state before and after, that would.
Sure, I'll say the same act of knowing, if that would be better for you.
Okay, restate the question then.
The same act of knowing prior and posterior to God's decree. Same identical act of knowing.
Like logically speaking, like what's the modality?
Yeah, logically, yeah.
If it's logical ordering and not temporal ordering, a logical order. God's decree is logically first, and his knowledge of all things, including, his knowledge of all things would be derived from that decree.
So it's the same act of knowing that lacks knowledge of counterfactual truth and gains knowledge of counterfactual truth.
There's no gaining. Again, there's no even the way that's for like this is why you're trying to state it in terms of modality of logic, but then moving to temporal.
Okay.
Say these types of things.
So if God chooses to decree otherwise, is the content of his knowledge according to that decree?
If God chooses to decree otherwise, I mean, it's like if God chooses to choose.
If decree otherwise, as in like a different state of creation or not creating at all, he decrees nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like something like that, right? Like if is his knowledge according to the way in which he decrees?
Yes, his knowledge is logically,
so his knowledge would be different if he didn't create.
Yeah, if God, but that still has there's no issue with saying that.
So God's contingent.
God's knowledge on himself, he's still free in terms of his decree.
Contingent doesn't mean dependent here. It means could fail to obtain in another possible world.
No, it just you're saying contingent like it failed to occur.
No, contingent necessarily means could fail to obtain.
Contingent necessarily means it's funny.
Sorry. Something's necessary, it's true in our possible world. If it's contingent, it can fail to exist in one possible world or more.
Is God's knowledge are you asking me, is God's knowledge contingent?
All right, after this part, I am going to get back to my reaction. I got people complaining on YouTube.
No worries.
Sorry.
I wouldn't say that God's knowledge is not contingent in the sense of being dependent on anything outside of himself.
They're not the same term. Contingent and dependency aren't the same.
Well, to say that knowledge is derivative of decree is not to say that knowledge is contingent on decree. You would agree with that?
You're still using it the same way.
Well, you can say that, but you're the one who is asserting a word like contingent that is significant, but insofar as you're defining it in that way, it is irrelevant. God's knowledge is derivative of his decree, but not contingent.
You said in a possible world that God does not have the same knowledge. So God's knowledge is contingent.
Just because you say that God's knowledge is derivative of that decree does not mean that God's knowledge is
Yes, it does.
Contingency is only in relation to creatures, so
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, we just keep it simple. Contingent just means, right, that across all possible worlds, X changes, right? Now, if the knowledge is derivative to the decree, meaning God decrees X, therefore he knows the contents of X in this world, there still exists another world where he doesn't know X, right? In that world, which would make his knowledge contingent. Which I don't know if, like, why you would be afraid to hold to that position. Like, I feel like that's a good position to hold to. It preserves a lot of things with like free will and like theodicy and providence.
Yeah, I guess if we're just defining it in that way, I mean, there's just no sure. I mean, I'd have to think more on it, but it's just not the language that I would use. So I'm less confident in giving an affirmation.
I don't think, like, from what I've read from the Institutes by Calvin, I don't think it's compatible with your like theology. But I think if you want to preserve both free will and theodicy and providence, I think when it comes to like sufficient versus efficacious grace, it terminates in God's providence, right? Like when I speak to most presbyters, they just say, well, we say like God has a reason for it, but that reason terminates in him.
Yeah.
Which things get weird because you hold to like a strong PSR. Not saying there's anything bad with that, but then you're also saying this also terminates in God. So for example, if I have sufficient grace and someone else doesn't, or someone else has efficacious grace, then God has a reason for why he gave that person efficacious and me not efficacious, right? And if God had a reason for it, then it's hard to make a case for why it could have been otherwise. Whereas like with us, we would just hold it like God has these divine ideas, and within these ideas that allows for like contingent creaturely choices across all possible worlds. And that's to do with like, you know, how close we are to how close our natural will is to God, and also how far it is by way of our anomic will in our reaction to his grace. So it keeps God as the primary mover, which compatibilism demands, and it keeps him as all sovereign.
Yeah, but the entailment is denying ADS. That's the entailment of your position.
Yeah, see, that doesn't follow.
No, it does, because you said God's knowledge is contingent.
And
that act of knowing is
no, you said that. Remember, you were the one
agreed
who's
to
driving that. No,
you
I
said
that
God's
was
knowledge is different in a possible world where he decrees differently.
If by contingent you mean logically derivative of
again, that's
his
not
decree,
what we're not using contingency as dependency. Those are not synonyms.
Yeah, so if we're not saying that,
contingency Nolan.
Yeah, hold on.
Contingency. 1 second. You're still conflating the two. Contingency means could fail to exist. Okay.
Yeah. So
could be otherwise.
Yeah. So there's two things. So there's a decree, knowledge of creation that would be logically posterior, but with respect to decree and knowledge of decree, that is simultaneous, inseparable, and necessary. There is no. There is. Yeah, so they're I would say they're simultaneous, inseparable, and necessary.
You've already agreed to the position that God's knowledge changes if his decree changes in some possible world.
It isn't that it changes; they are both essential, co-essential with the decree.
You've already agreed to that position.
Okay, well, if you want to grab hold of that and not contend with a clarification. All I'm saying, then it doesn't. I mean, it's a straw man. I'm just saying his knowledge of his own decree is co-essential with the decree itself. They are inseparable in the divine essence.
Yeah, Bryce, this conversation is probably just going to go on forever. I think just move on.
Alrighty.
We didn't get host. We didn't. You know, I appreciate the internal critique. This is generally what has occurred, but I still am not seeing how we're upholding. I'm still not seeing how we're upholding some aspect of free will without the implication being a violation of aseity, making God in his knowledge or some aspect about him, his knowledge, contingent on the thing that on the objects itself.
You're not using contingent right again.
Is logically explained by, so it is logically dependent on. The
So wait,
content of his knowledge is
wait,
large.
are you a eunomian now? Are you saying dependence entails some form of less diminution in deity?
To say that it's eunomian to say that
Are you saying some form of quasi dependence entails some diminution in deity?
quasi dependence. What do you mean by that?
You're saying dependence, but you're not using dependence, right? So you're using your own proprietary definition for contingent and dependence. I don't know what you mean here.
Okay, so we can arrive later on the word contingent, but insofar as the content of God's knowledge of future human choices is logically grounded in or explained by creature's will, then that is an explanatory dependence.
So God's knowledge is grounded or will is grounded in his essence, therefore it violates aseity. That doesn't follow.
To say that God's knowledge is has an explanatory dependence on creature's will.
Alrighty. We're gonna move on.
Okay.
How was that? Okay. All
Appreciate
right.
the conversation.
Appreciate it. Yeah, for sure.
Sure thing.
How we going?
Bro, I had like a very similar chat with Nolan like 3-4 weeks ago, Apostolic and I, and it was just the exact same things.
Yeah.
Like,
Thanks for coming up and helping out with that, because like freaking like I was trying to apply that critique the entire time, and I just felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. But hey,
I mean,
Sorry.
like it's when it comes to Calvin and a lot of these guys, they didn't go into like the PSR or any of these problems that would come as an entailment of their position.
Yeah.
Which is weird because like our saints did this like very early on. Where did everything go, man?
What?
Where did all the knowledge go, man? Just sort of with the Reformed theology, they focus on some really cool stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for coming up, man.
No, God bless, bro. You take it easy.
Yeah, thanks. All right, now we're gonna finish this thing out because I am curious to still try to see if AP could defend the Trinity.
Exist or dependent?
Once again, in essence, no.
Okay, as a person.
So that is a very, very complicated topic to deal with.
I know it is. As a
I need
person.
context again.
So God, can you be God if you're caused to exist or dependent?
Once again, in essence, no.
Okay, as a person.
So that is a very, very complicated.
You can just say yes to that, by the way. If you're just referring to it by hypostasis, there's nothing wrong with that. So he doesn't want to agree to it because he thinks it's going to cause a problem, but like if you say that like he's dependent hypostatically, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't actually diminish anything about the nature. There's a distinction between person and nature.
Topic to deal with.
I know it is. It's
I would
hard.
actually deal the response to that. I would actually let the response to that be answered by different people. But to my understanding, before time, before creation, we do affirm in the creed that that Jesus, the Son, is begotten by the Father.
And does begotten mean caused?
Holy Spirit proceeds from the Holy Father. Cause, we call it cause, yeah.
Okay, so the Son is eternally caused to exist and
Yes.
dependent upon the Father,
Yes.
and that doesn't negate him being God.
No, because I mean it would be
Yeah, hypostatically, who
transcend
cares?
any understanding that we have of how the causation
Doesn't diminish the
happens. And
nature.
You said yourself.
So do you fault
that it's an
people?
eternal-
Do you fault
eternal
people?
causation.
Do you fault people for denying that because they can't make sense of it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
I won't, because I think it's a complex matter, and as I explained at the very beginning, I wouldn't independently. I wouldn't think that it is reasonable to independently discuss the metaphysics of God and the nature of God. What would be reasonable to do is to trust the revelation, to assess whether the revelation is true or not,
Okay.
and then to learn from the revelation about the nature of God.
Okay.
If you're going to ask me about the causation and whether the Son being begotten of the Father somehow invalidates his divinity, you have already said something right there, which is eternally begotten.
Okay.
We don't say that
You're
there-
going on for a long time here,
Am I asking you a question.
You're going on for
we
like
don't
2
believe that
minutes
there was
here.
at some
It's
point
my
in time
time.
where the Son
I
did
get
not
to
exist.
control
We
the
say
time.
eternally begotten.
So do you believe that anything that has a beginning in time is created?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You believe anything that has a beginning in time is created?
In time, as in our universe in time, sure.
Yeah, beginning in time. It did not exist before, and now it exists.
Yeah.
Has a beginning in time. You believe anything that has a beginning in time is created?
Yeah.
Okay, and you are, have you been formally baptized into the Eastern Orthodox Church?
Not yet.
You're a catechumen?
Yeah.
Okay, so you might want to show them this because your saint and church father, Gregory Palamas, in the
Boy, here we go. Hold on. I haven't seen this yet. I know what he's going to do. He's going to quote the specific passage from the Triads where he states that the energies do not all are not all beginningless. He's going to quote the specific section where it states that some of the energies have a beginning. Guaranteed.
Triad says that our opponent thinks that everything which has a beginning is created. So he actually denies that anything that has a beginning in time is created. That is actually a heretical position according to the church that you want to belong to. So he actually
Wait, what?
denies that anything that has a beginning in time is created. That is
He doesn't say that the energies have a beginning in time. He doesn't say that it says that they have a beginning. And then he says that the manifestation is something that has a beginning in time, which the manifestation of that thing is the effect. Wow. Simple cause and effect.
actually a heretical position according to the church that you want to belong to.
Okay, so you have just said yourself eternally begotten, so an eternal causation, and now you're conflating that with beginning in time.
No, I'm not at all. This is actually a different issue. Try to keep up. Asked you the question about whether or not you believe that anything which has a beginning in time is created. The Eastern Orthodox, following Gregory Palamas, do not believe that. They believe that things can have a beginning in time and be uncreated. So you are actually spewing a heretical position according to your church.
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, oh, AP, bro. No. That specific section in the Triads talks about how some of the energies have a beginning. It does not say that they have a beginning in time. It says that the manifestations of the energies are in time. The manifestation is the effect. The energy in of itself can have a beginning insofar as a cause and effect relationship with the essence. That's it. That's still eternal.
Okay, I have no problem letting you know. Do you believe that Jesus was a human person?
Yes.
No. What the fuck? You don't say that. All right, that's not proper. That was sly. I don't even know if Jake even knows what he just did. I don't even know if Jake actually meant to even word it like that. So let's see if Jake even hones in on that. But AP should not have said yes to that at all.
Okay, can you show me where that is in your creeds?
In my creeds?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use the Chalcedonian Creed to show that he is human insofar as possessing human nature. Chalcedonian Creed
Or
does.
to recite
does
the creed. I mean, I believe he was a human person. That's what we affirm.
No. Oh, you can't say that, man. You don't say he's a human person. You don't do that.
Okay, do you know that that's heresy?
Jake's onto something. I hate to say it.
What?
I know you're going to be shocked too. Don't worry, guys. You're going to get this. Jesus was not actually a human person. He was a divine person with two natures, a divine nature and a human nature. He was not a human person.
Why are you preaching? You were supposed to ask me questions.
Yeah, You said what? So I'm explaining it to you. Didn't you want an answer?
You're supposed to.
So you believe Jesus was a human person? Do you know
I
that's
believe
heresy?
I believe that Jesus was fully human and fully man.
But was he a human person?
I don't know how to answer.
No, you just say no.
Okay, I know you don't know how to answer.
He was fully divided.
See, this
he was
is
fully
the
God and fully
problem.
man.
This is the problem. This is the problem. But anyway, we'll move on here.
Well, how in the
do you
world
believe,
is this the problem?
Do you believe that? Do you believe that Jesus?
How is that the problem?
Do you believe that Jesus had two wills?
Complicated question, nothing to do with the topic.
You just. Does he study like Christianity, like the metaphysics at all? Has he read any of the councils? Do
you believe that Jesus had two wills, sir?
It is a debate topic that I don't think I consider myself ready to actually think
I know
about.
you're not ready.
No, if you want
see
to,
it.
I think if you want
you're
to,
not
have
ready. Everybody can see it.
No, if
okay,
you want
do you
to,
believe
if you
that
want to have
Jesus-
further answers on that question, you can, for example, consult, I don't know, Metropolitan Callistus, where you can consult.
Is he alive?
Many of the no, he's actually he passed away.
I can't consult him then unless I pray to the saints like you.
Have you ever heard of books?
Yes, I have.
Then read his book.
I don't need to
The
read
Orthodox
his book. I don't
way.
need to
1
read his
minute.
book.
Gosh.
Okay, let's go on to the next issue. Do you believe that
Did he go through catechism, brother? Like, come on, man.
Jesus was ignorant of the hour in his human nature?
Another complicated question that relates to what he assumed at the time that he was on the among us.
Do you believe that Jesus was ignorant of the hour in his human nature?
No, he's trapping him again. He's trapping him into admitting agnoite. Agnoite is a heresy, and he's trapping him into affirming agnoite. That's exactly what he's doing. I guarantee you he's going to quote it. He's about to quote agnoite.
Another complicated question that relates to what he assumed.
What is that? Agnoite? Saying that Christ was truly ignorant in his human nature. That's a heresy.
At the time that he was on the among us on the earth, we believe that Jesus had that Jesus voluntarily emptied himself of many of his qualities or many of his abilities.
You guys believe it's a heresy too, Nippon, because I know that you follow like Oriental Orthodoxy. That heresy originally was actually first condemned by you guys before it was condemned by us.
That he voluntarily emptied himself with the incarnation.
Okay, can you comment?
To partake in our nature.
Can you comment on the apparent false prophecy of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew 16, which I read from earlier, where he said, "Some of you standing before me now will not actually taste death"?
Partial preterism solves that instantly.
There are disagreements on that, but I can't really.
But that's the funny thing, though, is that Ridvan cannot actually hold to partial preterism. He can't hold to partial preterism because he's a Zionist. See, that's the problem with his position. And Jake actually, I think Jake knows this too, in terms of this critique. Because you can't be a partial preterist and a Zionist at the same time. A partial preterist is somebody, or a partial preterist is somebody who affirms that basically there was a judgment that already had occurred of the Jews in 70 AD. And their covenant was ripped from them.
Really make a comment on whether that
you can't affirm that if you're a Zionist, because you have to believe that their covenant still exists.
Is a false or true prophecy. There's disagreements about its reference to the temple. There are multiple numerous disagreements, and no early Christian actually believed that it failed or anything like that.
Thank you.
Is there more of that debate? Because like I know that was only a piece of it. I don't understand why modern day debate does this. Like, why is it that it says that's a hoax? Like, that's a quote. That he didn't say that at all in the entire debate. None of that was said.
You think superior?
The virgin birth was a,
and it seemed good to me also.
So
you said
what is your secondary?
As a Muslim, once as you already.
The answer to that would be very simple.
Human being, as Gregory of Nyssa said that. No, I never said that.
It would transcend any understanding that we have from the revelation about the nature of God.
Okay.
If you're going to ask
I have no problem letting you know. Do you believe that Jesus was a human person? 16, which are
So he tried to trap him into Nestorianism. He tried to trap him into agnoite. He tried to trap him into Arianism. He tried to trap him into a bunch of stuff.
Is a false or true prophecy. It is disagreement. Fun.
The people of his time, and he didn't have access.
Explicitly says that the gospel text was text.
If you want me to pull it up, 1 second. And in the verse that I mentioned,
down and selling it, or
gosh, I wish I could just do this debate. Oh, I would love to do this with this guy. I mean, that was bad, dude. Like, that wasn't good. Why don't you? Well, yeah, because like he doesn't do like very many formal debates. I haven't seen him on TikTok recently either. Every time he's on TikTok, I'm at work. It sucks. Never lines up. I wish he would like come up here and talk or something at some point, but I don't know. I know he's active on TikTok, man. I've seen him on TikTok, but every time that he's actually doing things on TikTok, like in like the Speaking Muslims lives or something like that, it's always like during the middle of the day during the week, bro. Like I can't. I'm working, bro. You still debating, Mike? Yeah, 20th of February. Is the incarnation biblical and logical? That is happening. Yeah, I'm debating metaphysics, Mike. You will get baked by metaphysics, Mike. See, that's how I know that you guys don't actually know what you're talking about. Metaphysics Mike doesn't even know the difference between nature and hypostasis at all. Every time he attempts to actually like make a critique against like our metaphysics, he completely conflates terms over and over and over, and that's all he does. You can go watch my previous debates that I've had with Mike. I caught him on it like 100 times. He's terrible with that. You watched the Jake and Diddy Wood debate. What the heck? Yeah, he said a rock is a hypostasis. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. You meant Jake, not Mike? I'll be fine if I debate Jake. Are those Jake's critiques? Because I answered all of those in great detail with sources. Like, that's some low tier shit, dude. Like, if that's Jake's argumentation, that's some low tier shit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I wouldn't even have to study for that shit, dude. If that's the type of critiques he's going to bring, I don't even need to study. But yeah, that was interesting. React to Jake versus David Wood. I would, but I do got to go here shortly, and I know that was a big debate. I've seen pieces of it. Do they even talk about like the metaphysics stuff or what? Because like if they're just arguing about the Islamic dilemma, that shit's kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've heard it like hundreds of times. What's up, honey? I see you in chat. What's going on? React to Chalcedon. That's funny. That's a good one. I like that. I like that one, Kale. That made me laugh. Do you think Islamic dilemma is a good argument? I mean, I think it's pretty good in terms of like its usage. I just think it's incredibly boring to listen to. I'm just being real. Like, I really don't care to watch the 500th Islamic dilemma debate in the past 6 months. I really don't care for it.
Hey Bryce, do you know
Yeah.
what you should like do a brief reaction to? Did you watch the Libiano versus IP debate?
Was that recent?
Yeah, it was like last week. I think it was like last Thursday or Tuesday.
Is Prophet Muhammad in the Bible?
Yeah. I think at some point in the cross-examination, Libiano like asks him if under some law of identity, the Trinity's three gods. And
Yeah.
like that was like some kind of argument like to prove that we can't be God's kingdom because we're not monotheistic.
Of the kingdom.
Hold on.
Let me finish.
Approximations, not
How does
accurate,
that-
not completely mapping
How
on
does
the
that
reality.
fall? Beautiful.
Approximations of the kingdom of God.
Perfect.
Perfect. That's
I
not what
didn't
these are
say- I didn't
about.
say
This is about God
specific
sending
law.
out
You
servants.
said it.
Well, okay, you
Show me. Show me. where it
that's
says
the
immediately.
context.
Show
If
me
you're
where it says-
preparing,
Learn that from the text. Thank you very much.
I was trying to listen to what you guys are saying, man. Oh,
I
man.
know.
empire in 1453.
We're
Stop
not
running
done.
from that.
Let me uttered it, and I haven't responded to it yet. So let me. Please pause the time.
No, we talked about Matthew.
What questions do you have for
Use like criterion of this
supernatural claim? The historical claim is that to say otherwise. Christianity necessitates crucifixion. Crucifixion doesn't necessitate Christianity. So again,
What?
if
they should be
Hold on.
believing what Islam teaches, and they
So
didn't
according-
say that. According to Muslims, supposed to
it
believe.
it doesn't follow because the Quran never
Yeah, because
in a crucifixion and not been preaching Christianity.
core doctrine of Islam for like 10 minutes.
That's what I thought. Thank you. Daniel needs is for Rome to be epistemic by Babylon.
No.
Oh, okay. So Babylon didn't end. So,
Exactly.
That's
Mike,
Daniel
Mike,
7.
What are the toes of the Western Roman Empire? The Western
Yeah,
Empire.
I forget the
can you-
timestamp,
That's an
but
open
I know it
field.
was when Liviano was
Timestamp.
asking questions.
Yeah, Caesar means you
All
think
right,
you're a
guys.
Roman. You never got to respond to the Roman Empire, ladies and gents. That's what I them without reasonable.
Just
The
like what
Western
happened in
Empire
Esau on that.
in what year? That fulfills Daniel.
Nicaea, the empire of Trebizond, past thing.
So under that, there are three gods, right?
Oh.
It depends on how you're doing defining identity. The
Oh, here we go.
Testament, then yeah, but that's
Oh,
circular.
here it
That's
is.
what that
Thank you.
is by definition, dude.
So Matthew's being circular, right?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that's actually what happened.
Matthew,
Yeah, that happened.
Matthew is circular, ladies and gentlemen. All right, fantastic.
Sure,
is the
yeah.
Kingdom of God is the kingdom of God monotheistic?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
I had to listen to this.
Under classical logic, are there three gods?
Depends on how you formulate it. And that has nothing to do with the topic.
I love that they always say classical logic. Like, under classical logic, like, dude, relative identity existed long before absolute identity. That's the best part.
Wait.
So when people
is
say
it under absolute identity? Isn't it just modalism?
that, it would either be modalism or it'd be three gods. Yeah.
Hmm.
It would lead to either one of those. You can't
Yeah,
really
I
discern
really
absolute.
want
You
to see this
you can't really reconcile that kind of stuff with the absolute identity. But absolute identity is the new. That's the newer method of identity. It's not. That's not the That's not actually the classical identity. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, it does. You said the kingdom of God is monotheistic, so Daniel's kingdom is supposed to be monotheistic. Under classical logic, if we counted the same way we count everything else, are there three gods?
Depends on how you're defining identity. It depends. And this
So
again has nothing to do with
under-
Muhammad.
I said under absolute identity, are there three gods?
Is Muhammad in the Bible is the topic. I'm not really sure like why he's even using this argument, but I mean, whatever.
I know. Like, if the thing is, like, if you look at like all the quotes Muslims are pulling from this, like, oh, Matthew's circular, the Ottomans or Romans, like, none of them prove Muhammad in the Bible.
None of it does.
Like, it never does. It never
Define
does.
absolute identity. Give me a rigorous definition because that's not a. What? Go ahead.
Under classical identity, are there three gods? Leibniz's
Again,
law.
you need to
Leibniz,
define.
I just told you,
Give me a rigor.
Leibniz's law. Under Leibniz's law, are there three gods?
It's irrelevant to the topic. This is not Tawhid versus Trinity. So can you actually keep on topic?
No, under Leibniz, I'm gonna ask again. Under Leibniz's law,
You
are
can
there
ask
three
me
gods?
again, but it doesn't have anything to do with the topic.
So you're not gonna answer? Okay,
No,
sure.
it's not about the topic.
All right.
Show me Muhammad's in the Bible. What is
All
this?
right,
What are you
beautiful.
doing?
All right, beautiful. No, it is on topic because the kingdom of God is supposed to be monotheistic. Did you admit in a clip that if we counted using the CCM under classical logic and the primitive notion of identity, classical identity, would there be 3 little g gods? You admitted that, right?
No, because that's taking things out of context. That was according to how he was defining identity. Can you debate the topic and not try to bring up past things?
So under that, there are 3 gods, right? Under that regimentation of identity, there's 3 gods, right?
Depends on how you define it. I don't even remember the conversation.
It depends, guys. So there's a sense. There's a sense in which there's 3 gods. Thank you so much, Michael Jones.
You can define identity in such a way that it.
Let me pause the time. It's a.
All right. Beautiful. The next question is, according to our 7th century Syriac texts, who subjugated and defeated Rome? Syriac Christian.
I don't really care for that anyway. Yeah, that was dumb. That freaking, yeah. It's just the same shit.
Yeah, I don't.
I love inspiring. I love inspiring philosophy to death, bro. Like he's one of my favorites. But like, once the metaphysics kicks in, it's kind of like just not his game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think he's good like the sociology of like religion and like the political side when it comes to like like I guess yeah he has a master's in philosophy, but like when it comes to like metaphysics theology, it's not his thing. But
yeah,
I guess like if you had to give your I think you should do like a tier list for like different subjects.
Oh, of like certain people or whatever.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, I don't know, like metaphysics. I mean, scripture. I mean, I don't know, because like for example, Jay Dyer. I mean, the dude is amazing at philosophy, metaphysics, history. The only thing he kind of lacks maybe a little bit of is like super deep scripture knowledge.
Yeah.
But like even Sam Shamoun's not that great at philosophy.
Everybody has weaknesses, right? Like everybody has like specific weaknesses on like how they approach things, right? Like that matters, you know, and like apologetics is being able, because like there's a lot of categories to apologetics, like the type of stuff that you argue for, and like certain people are better at different things, but sadly, if you don't at least have a good grasp of everything to a degree, you're going to get beat up when someone figures out that you're not philosophically inclined. They're going to philosophically belt to ass you. That's what they're going to do.
I mean, yeah, that's why I think Liviano tried to bring up the LPT in a Muhammad in the Bible debate.
Yeah, because he knows that IP doesn't debate that. He knows that IP doesn't debate stuff like that, so it's going to make IP look bad either way. Now, granted, I think it's incredibly dumb that the argument was even brought up in the first place in a debate that has to do with Muhammad in the Bible. Because here's the funny thing. Even if he just admitted, yeah, sure, the Trinity is 3 gods. Is Muhammad in the Bible?
No.
It doesn't even... It's a complete non sequitur to the entire topic.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, yeah. His whole argument was Daniel 2. Like, that was his whole argument. And, like, other than his opening statement, like, he didn't even talk about the rest of the debate. He was trying to prove, like, what does Bart Ehrman say about the Son of Man, stuff like that. Like, there was a lot of bait and switches in it. But yeah.
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 All right. Oh, you got something to ask Antioch, or because I'm gonna be getting out of here soon.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about what you thought of absurdism according to Albert Camus.
I haven't read Albert Camus. But in a basic sense, I mean, absurdism. Like I debated an absurdist actually for like 2 hours on my page. If you wanted to watch that.
Yeah. What? Like on your YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the
It's
video
called?
called?
I think it's called "Friendly Discussion with an Absurdist on the Existence of God." Let me see.
You know what? Actually, I did watch that, and that's why I didn't want to come to you after watching that, was because I don't think that was satisfying enough, because people claim to be absurdists, but they don't actually know what they're talking about. Because before I was a Christian, I was an absurdist for years, and I'm very familiar with Camus.
Okay.
And so when I people, like I see on TikTok all the time of people claiming to be absurdists. So I go over there and I LARP and I ask them about it, and they can't tell me the first thing about the philosophy. But I just wanted to hear, at least, I guess you don't really know much about it, but how
I don't
you
know
would
too much.
respond. Do you know anything about it?
Not a lot, man. Like if I'm going to be 100% real with you, like I don't know a
Okay.
ton of things about absurdism. I don't really ever see people holding to it, and people don't come up here trying to argue for it.
Yeah, it's really unpopular, but yeah, it's pretty unpopular because but the actual, as far as absurdism compared to like just existentialism or nihilism, it's definitely a stronger philosophy than those two. Because Camus never called himself an absurdist. He never called himself an existentialist. He never considered himself one.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I made a distinction between the two. But I mean, the reason why I converted from Christianity, from absurdism to Christianity, was because of really tag, because it just can't hold up against it. It's a very materialistic philosophy. But I just trying to find more way, because I know there's more ways to argue against it. But I guess
I'm about to say I'm not too well versed on the absurdists.
Okay. Well, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing, bro. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, have a good one though.
Alrighty. Well, I'll catch you guys later. I'm gonna go to bed.